Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special, monstrously matrimonial episode of Monster Party.
Monster Party! It's monstrous! Have a cocktail!
Marriage! Fun!
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
What a
marriage.
show.
Oh, good times coming.
What a show we have in store.
Oh, yeah.
And who are you, sir?
I'm Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Strothe.
And I'm James Gonis.
And for this episode, the topic is something that many of you may be quite familiar with. Mm-hmm. And that topic is...
What is our topic?
Macabre marriages.
Macabre marriages! Macabre! It's spooky. It's well,
Like there are any other kind.
No. It's no.
Everybody. Oh, man.
It doesn't always have to be spooky. It could be interesting or
No, it has to be spooky.
Yeah.
No, I don't want... This is not about interesting marriages. This is about fucking destructive, horrible, scary ones.
Okay.
A match made in hell.
Oh, he's already coined it. But for this episode, we have, yet again, as we do here at Monster Party, have the perfect guest.
A return guest.
A return guest, friend of the show.
friend of the show.
Now, you might already know who this guy is. I mean, he's made such wonderful, lovable films like 6 Days in Roswell, Suckers, The Nature of Existence, Trekkies, which I was in.
That's
folks.
right. Yes, you were.
Trekkies 2.
Trekkies 2?
And the soon-to-be-released Trekkies 3, The Weinhold Imperative. That's not real. That's not real at all, I'm sorry.
okay.
But his latest film is called The Truth About Marriage.
The Truth About Marriage.
So fitting. Here he is.
Who is it?
Roger Nygaard!
Roger Nygaard!
Hello, gentlemen. Nice to be back. Good to be back.
For being back.
Yeah,
So tell us the truth about marriage.
No, so you...
I found the truth.
Did you
I think
really?
you did. We all saw this film.
Yes, we did.
all loved it.
Well,
And, well, some things strike a little too close to home.
there was
You know how
a
it is.
nerve. There was a nerve and
But that's good. That's good filmmaking. You want to strike a nerve.
I wanted to make people think.
and that's
And I
what
did.
that's what you did. You
And
made-
laugh.
yes.
I want them to laugh first, and then I slip
Right.
in the little thinking node that,
It was-
that like a thinking worm that
Yeah.
activates later.
That's what I
Right,
call
right.
mine. That's what the ladies call it, the thinking worm.
Your brain is like a worm shaped, the size of a worm.
Yeah. No, it's a good-sized worm.
Yeah, I did
It's
some-
respectable.
I did some crying and crawled in a hole, but you know.
The truth is hard. It's
Yeah,
not
I
easy.
know.
No,
Yes,
no,
it is.
and that was the thing about this film.
But tell us, Roger, if you give us kind of an overview of what your film is about.
Well, all
I mean,
my
I know that
films-
the title kind of says it, but
All my films start with an idea or something that's haunting me, a concept, which leads to a core question.
okay,
And the nature of existence, the core question was, why do we exist?
right?
An existentialist question. I'm not the first existentialist, but it was bothering me and keeping me awake. So I traveled around the world and made people explain to me what's the point of everything. This film, my core question was, why is marriage so hard for people? If I came to you one day and I said, guys, I'm selling this great product. You're going to love it. Everybody's getting it. It's wonderful. What would you say? You'd say, you want it.
What is it?
I gotta have
I gotta have it.
You'd say, is it any good? And I would say, yeah, it's great. And maybe you might ask then, well, what's the guarantee? And I said, well, there's no guarantee. Half of them fail, and the other half, you got to work pretty hard to keep them going.
Whoa.
You'd tell me to go back to the drawing
Yeah,
board.
because if you were selling a toy and you're like, well, half of them don't really work out and half of them do, then I'm like, that sounds like a shitty
Well,
toy.
like many toys, over time, if you use them enough, sometimes they do fall apart.
Especially self-lubricating toys.
yes. However,
I
some
thought they all were.
some if you keep mint in the package,
But
they'll
it's
always
harder to
still-
lubricate them if
Well,
they're in the
no, I'm just
package.
saying that they'll stay fresh.
Although the edges, that can be a little fun.
That's where it
But
started.
that's another episode.
That's where it started for me.
Yeah.
Was with this question. And I'm single. I've been single. I've never been married. I've gotten close 3 times
Really?
to where I saw, okay, I'm going to be married to this person someday. And it didn't work out for different reasons, and I won't bore you with each of those tragedies, my relationship baggage. But
those would be for our extras.
Yeah, when you have me back for the third time. But I'm still plagued by the idea of why is it so hard, and is there something wrong with being single? Why can't everybody find a lifelong partner? I mean, if we were truly monogamous, we would marry the first person we had sex with in high school or whenever it happens, instead of dating different people. If you go on to a second person, you're technically no longer monogamous.
Right.
Well, and then some people in some cultures, especially when it has to do with religion, that the only time you, according to God, can have sex is when you're married. So I'm sure a lot of people, part of the attraction was, hey, I can finally get laid.
That's a good inducement.
Yeah.
It's worked.
It helps.
It keeps the species reproducing.
Yeah.
So I set out to answer that question, why is it so hard? And I spent the last 8 years interviewing all the experts, reading all the books, traveling around the world, finding all these people, collecting the data. And I also, when I got invited to weddings, I started bringing my camera. And I would interview the bride and groom, just friends, randomly, whoever invited me to their wedding. I would take my camera, film their wedding, ask them my tough questions I had jotted down, and then saved the footage until many years later when I could check back and see what happened.
In your face.
You said. And I followed up so I could do a longitudinal study on several couples.
Sure.
And so they're in the film as well.
Wow.
It is interesting how, like, as in the film, you have these experts, you know.
A lot of experts.
But talking about very candidly how society throughout history has looked at marriage and how, because, I mean, you know, the idea of finding your soulmate, you know, finding that one true love and on a planet of billions of people, it's such a romantic concept, but it's kind of ridiculous.
Whoa.
In some ways, when you think,
yes.
but I mean, when you think about it in a scientific way, I mean, yes, you know, you're longing, you want to find somebody and have companionship.
Yeah.
But the idea that the one you marry is that
The one in the world.
Is that the one? But that's what people all want. I mean, that's what
I want. Yeah.
There's a
course,
great song by a guy named Reckless Eric, and it was a great 80s punk ballad. It's called Whole Wide World. And poor Reckless Eric, he's going to travel the whole wide world to find that perfect woman, and she's probably on a beach in Tahiti. So he has to just get to her to have that perfect relationship. But what are the odds of that? I always felt that the idea of a soulmate, first of all, you're already working on the proposition that there is a soul and that there's some sort of connection between these two energy
almost like a
things.
supernatural
It's
connection.
a supernatural thing.
Yeah.
And like, why overthink it? Just try to get along with this person. Let's take baby steps.
Well,
You should make someone into your soulmate. That's a more logical and realistic approach. If you're going to be the person who's traveling the world to find that girl on the beach in Tahiti, to that girl on the beach, you're a stalker.
True.
Well, and also a soulmate implies that, okay, this is the way I am and I'm always going to be, and the other person will always be this way too.
Right.
And
Locked in time.
One of the things the documentary points out is that people evolve, people change.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
partnerships change.
But they can change it in a good way too. In that, we're like in the 50s, let's say, oh, it was the thing to do. You know, you just found a husband and you got married, but you maybe end up falling in love, or
Like
you
arranged
work
marriages
it out.
where you just hopefully
But it was-
eventually you'll find this place in your relationship where you actually feel affection and love.
Right.
Or life is bearable enough to go
yeah,
on.
Yeah, you
Right,
can just
right,
you worked
right.
out an arrangement.
What I'd love
right.
is you actually interviewed
Like
your
my parents.
your 100-year-old was a grandmother.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, that is great. And just she's very sharp. And just the answers that came out of her mouth really surprised me.
Yeah, very candid.
Because as Sean was saying, the 50s, well, she got married
20s or
yeah,
30s.
and her answers were just surprising to me, because I actually had this notion that, you know, romantic, finding your soulmate, falling, you know, true love. I thought that had been around for a while. You know, at least Sleeping Beauty, that takes place in the Middle Ages, you know, and so I thought it's been
historically
What?
correct.
What are you talking about?
the idea of
You use this as your example
true,
of fantasy?
Well, no, it's you know, falling in love and having your soulmate.
But that was a fantasy then.
Yeah.
I asked my grandmother, too, about love, if she talked about love with my grandfather, and she said, no, we didn't ever talk about that. Compatibility is far more important. You might be married to somebody and think you're in love, but when you're in bed together, if he doesn't wash his feet, it's never going to work out.
So word to the wise.
Yeah, but it's that more pragmatic approach too. Yeah, because living with somebody is not an easy thing. That's a huge step right there.
Anyway,
Right.
You know,
look,
I mean,
I was on the road forever, for 30 plus years of having to be in a condo with 2 other comics, and you really it's actually a really good training ground for relationships. You know what? I'm not going to sweat the little stuff.
right.
I will not drink your milk. Okay? See, we're off and running.
But you would wash your feet.
No. That's part of the attraction.
But you're right, though. Love has only been around, according to the historians, love has only been around for about 160 or so years. Most of human history, of which is about 200,000 years that our species has existed, humans didn't get married for love. We didn't have enough free time. This is a luxury of free time to go on your search for a soulmate or to even go on dates. This has no relevance to human beings evolving as they did on the African savanna.
Right.
All of our desires and emotions and feelings are a result of what was adaptive to human beings living on the African savanna, looking for food and shelter and trying to stay alive.
Yeah, things have changed since Savannah.
And it's
I
things
hardly
like,
ever go there anymore.
I mean, it's things like
It's
that.
just so emotionless.
You might try visiting the African savanna, and once you get there, you might go, "Wow, this feels right."
All right, let's go.
Well, you interviewed all these
I got
experts.
Miles.
You had all these interesting people who got married at different points, and there was a single guy. There was the single guy, the rap star guy, in
Single forever. He was going to be single forever.
Single forever.
His name was
Didn't he-
Don Blanquito.
He did a song. Did he
Yeah.
do a song? He's
Yeah.
a rap song.
It was in Rio, Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He moved to Brazil and learned to speak Portuguese and to rap in order to meet women. That's commitment
Yeah.
to meeting chicks.
Yeah.
He went, and so he lived there because he loved Brazilian women.
Yeah.
And he goes into great detail, his laundry list of the attributes of a woman that he's looking for.
Yeah.
Right.
And after this long list of things like, fat ass, green eyes, and,
Yes.
well, I don't want to be too demanding. Okay, maybe she doesn't have to have green eyes, but everything else she's got to have.
And if I recall, there's a great shot when you're interviewing him, and there is this lovely lady that's sprawled out, in a bed next to him as he's talking about, hey, what I like, hey, I'm gonna get down, and it was, oh, this guy is gonna be the
I
bachelor
just kept thinking,
forever.
I really hope she's alive.
Yeah, I mean, I look, it's like, is she breathing?
Yes, she's
I
breathing.
I couldn't see her breathing.
Yes.
She was napping.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
So you again traveled all over the world to.
Well, I had to
record
find the
this.
experts. First of
Yeah.
all, I started reading books. There was an expert his name is Dr. Robin Baker, who wrote a book called Sperm Wars. He did this research that was very controversial in the 90s, published in 1993, and it's about sperm competition. He discovered, with his research partners, that when a man ejaculates, the sperm is of many different types. The type of sperm, the normal sperm that fertilizes an egg, is less than 10% of the sperm. The rest of it, they found, were all these weird, misshapen sperm with 2 heads, 1 head,
Misfit sperm.
curled tail, double tail, monstrous looking sperm.
Todd Browning.
Freak sperm.
The next question
Dog
was,
face sperm.
why do we have dog-faced sperm? And there's got to
I've
be
been asking that for
scientists
years.
have a reason. There's a reason for everything. And so the theory they posited was that, and when they examined it together, they would mix different sperms together. Sperm is designed to go to battle. One man's sperm is designed to fight another man's sperm.
No.
And so his theory was women's bodies promote sperm warfare by collecting the sperm of multiple partners so that only the best sperm will fertilize the egg after fighting it out inside the woman.
Right.
And some of the sperm were assassin sperm. They had like poison-tipped sperms. And so you, Larry,
like a
have
Michael Bay
It's a
assassin
horror
sperm.
movie that we want to make. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hasn't been done yet.
I have assassin sperm.
Do you?
Don't get any on you.
Yeah, no.
I'm
No,
warning you.
come on. We're not playing that game here. Okay, come on.
And this train of thought isn't limited to humans. There's also comparisons to all these different animals in the animal kingdom, birds.
Yeah, chimpanzees. They also have the same
Wombats.
thing is going on. So apparently, Mother Nature thinks this is a good thing, and the implication is that human beings are promiscuous by nature in order for a woman to her body to have sex with multiple partners.
I've been telling my wife that for years.
It's hard to explain.
See the world.
It's hard to explain that to a woman in our. What's changed is our culture has changed radically from the African savannah, and we have to exist in a culture that's changed
Yes.
dramatically from the way humans used to exist. They existed in these small tribes, these small bands of 150 or fewer humans, and all those humans had to share. They shared everything: food, shelter, clothing, hunting, gathering, and sex. Is the argument goes. We don't know for sure because nobody was there.
Right.
They're basing it on all the evidence and also on tribes that still exist today that they've
That's how
studied.
they work.
And they have this theory, and they go and they found people behaving that way,
Right.
who had not yet been contacted by modern societies, modern
Right,
cultures.
When did we get to the state of affairs where the marriage thing, it works out really well for men, but not so much for the woman? He basically owns this person. She cleans. She gives birth to the kids, but she doesn't have a say. She doesn't have a vote.
Right,
She's
right.
really just there as this like tool.
In the middle area of human history, that was sort of what's going on. And actually, it started 6,000 years ago, give or take, when humans discovered agriculture. That's the dividing line between before and after
Told
the
you.
tribal
Fucking
behavior.
vegetables.
Agriculture. Agriculture is to blame.
It is because what happened is, but prior to that, humans were nomadic, and they lived in these tribes that shared everything. And then once they understood how to stay in one place and grow their own crops, the idea of ownership occurred to humans.
Like stability, like domestic
I'm
stability.
going to stay here, and now this is my land. These are my animals, and I want to make sure now that my possessions are passed on to my genetic offspring. So marriage then was invented or occurred to them, was created in order to control the sexual behavior of women. Because the only way a man could be sure that it's his offspring, a woman knows it's her baby, it came out of her, right? This is
Right.
No doubt, this came out of me. A man can't be sure unless he's practiced what they call mate guarding. He's been with his woman 24/7. But now that he's a farmer and he's out working the fields and he's hunting and he's away, since he can't be around her all the time,
Right.
this social structure functions as a fencing to keep the woman protected or to keep other suitors or other sperm away from her. And marriage is this social entrapment in order to prevent women from having sex with anyone other than their husband.
Right. Wow.
Sorry, ladies.
If you look in the Bible, you know, adultery is a sin that women are punished for, not men.
Wait, what?
In most religious texts, women are forbidden to have sex outside of marriage, but men don't have that same prohibition.
Doesn't it say, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife"?
Covet
that's
his
just-
neighbor's wife, but not his servant or your prostitute or your concubine or
It's like someone else's property you can't covet.
exactly.
Yeah. And you're just not supposed to covet, but you can have sex with her.
Isn't that what covet mean? You know,
I think covet and sex were probably synonymous, but she's off limits.
right.
But nobody else is.
Interesting.
You can't add to what's written. You have to go by what the Constitution or the Bible says,
Right.
until it's amended, and the Bible doesn't get amended.
See, I thought covet meant like you want that person's wife. But I don't think most of the time that person, the other party, necessarily wanted that person's wife. They just wanted to borrow the wife.
Yeah, well, there's a
True.
problem when you borrow something. Sometimes you break it,
True, yeah.
or you get it pregnant.
Especially back in those days,
And
yes.
getting it
Yeah.
pregnant is like breaking it.
Sure, yeah.
And then this guy's now got to be responsible for your genetic offspring, which he doesn't want to do.
Yeah, with
Right.
the two-headed thing or the pointy thing on it.
Larry's
Head.
He's
sperm
stuck
assassin.
on that one.
I
Yeah, he's already.
I know what your
He's already
pointy
drawing
sperm-
designs of his sperm. We're going to pitch them all, Larry. Don't worry. We're going to get this Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Sperms with a Z. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where our culture started changing rapidly about 6,000 years ago. And so now we live in a culture that asks us to behave in a way that's out of sync with the way we evolved. And we're asked to achieve these ideals that are not really reachable, and so everybody's frustrated and makes mistakes, and they stray, and you have cheating, and you have philandering, and you see one congressman after another get caught cheating.
Yeah.
And so if monogamy was natural, you wouldn't have to work so hard at it. It would be natural. Mm-hmm. So we have all these rules now and there's a reason that monogamy is a requirement, because the stage between sharing everything on the African savannah and these small bands, between that and what we have now what evolved was polygamy. And polygamy happened when some of these landowners got more and more rich than others. They'd collect more and more women.
Right.
So if you've got, like, the Sultan might have 5,000 concubines.
The harem. Right.
5,000.
Yeah.
But those are concubines, not wives, right?
Well, they're women. They're yours.
Okay.
And no one else's. And it's your job to sleep with all of them. And they had schedules. And they had schedules when they were fertile. And so they would have sex with them only when they're fertile to have the maximum number of babies. But the problem is you've got 4,999 men without wives who are frustrated and angry and causing social unrest. Hence, monogamy occurred. Okay, well, we got to make everybody one man, one wife because we got too many of these young,
There'd be
angry
a happy
kids.
medium, 3, 4.
Well, that's what prostitution is, kind of the happy medium.
Is it? I had no
Or
idea.
a massage, whatever you want to call it.
Well,
I thought that was a good way to get my wallet stolen.
okay, but wouldn't you say that so this, the Sultan and stuff, I mean, that happened a long time ago. So when monogamy came
Well,
in, hang on, I've got the
there are
floor here.
sultans
I've got
now.
the floor here. Hello.
Okay.
So by today's standards, we've kind of done away with that for the most part in our country. But it's like, so now we have the one man, one woman, but isn't it statistically, aren't there more women now than there are men?
Yeah, there's a couple of percentage points more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a marginal number. Mm-hmm. That's not the same as having 4,000, percent different. Mm-hmm. And so we deal with it. Mm-hmm. The way we deal with it is what we practice. We practice now what's a version of polygamy. It's called serial monogamy.
Serial monogamy.
Where you have to jettison the prior partner before you're allowed to take the next one.
Right.
Whereas in the old days, you just keep them and keep adding to your stable.
Right.
Until, and the old ones wouldn't want to leave because if you're going to be able to collect multiple partners, you have to be rich and pay for them all. And so they'd rather be where there's plenty of food. There's lots of good eating here, and so my baby and I can have plenty of nourishment.
Right.
Things have changed because we have banks now. The invention of banks liberated women is one of the things that helped liberate women from that particular part of history, because now they didn't have to rely on families and merging families for their sustenance. They could actually save money in a bank and live on their own, get a job, and not reliant on two families merging through a marriage.
So what you're saying is this whole concept is, in the scheme of humans being around, is really new.
Extremely new. Yeah, humans have been around 200,000 years, and so we've been practicing this for about 6,000 out of 200,000. It's a tiny slice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when people say traditional marriage, they usually mean the 1950s, which is an even tinier slice of a slice of time that's very abnormal. The 1950s is extremely abnormal in human history.
So clearly, there are a lot of things that make marriage difficult, things that we need to, especially in a modern day scenario, have to adjust
And
ourselves.
relationships, in general.
Yeah. And so if we take the things that you've learned from your study of marriage, and then you apply them
To monsters.
to marriages that are maybe, monsters.
Or just how pop culture has interpreted or looks at marriage throughout,
right, or
throughout the years.
strange pairings. Because I would think that just the pressures of being in a traditional marriage as we've come to know it, and then you add mental illness or
supernatural
or psychotic personalities
Right.
can make things even more difficult. I have an example just right out
Sure.
the gate here.
Yeah,
there's a favorite movie of mine. I really love this film, and it's called The Honeymoon Killers.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you
That's on my
guys-
list.
Directed by Leonard Castle.
Not William Castle, Leonard Castle.
Leonard Castle. Yeah, he was. He didn't have any of the gimmicks. It was just he just wrote a script and filmed a story. Very novel idea. The story is, so there's this woman, Martha, and she's very depressed. She's kind of overweight. And so her friend Bunny, who's played by Doris Roberts,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
she puts her name into this like Lonely Hearts Club. And Martha gets contact by this guy, Raymond Fernandez. And Raymond wines and dines her. He ends up like swindling a bunch of money from her. And she finds out that what he really is just this con man. He does this with all kinds of women. This is just what he does to make money. But she has fallen for him. And he kind of falls for her. And they decide to do this scheme together. And she plays his sister. They'll find usually an older woman who's looking for love. It'll lead to them getting married. And then what'll happen is Martha starts to get jealous. She can't handle him being with other women. And so it ends up leading to murder. They end up bumping off this wife and then moving on to a new woman. And this happens a couple times, but the results get more and more horrific.
And twisted and weird.
Twisted as it goes along. And I don't want to give away the whole movie, but it's based on a true story.
Cast is
Martha
amazing.
is played by Shirley Stoller, and then Tony LoBianco is
so great.
Raymond, and he is so great in this film.
And it's done like in this kind of stark black and white photography made in the 60s, and it's just really cool.
Guys, I have to tell you, I am not familiar with what's the date on it?
Actually,
You know?
1970.
Yeah, 1970.
Because I'm not familiar with that one.
It's really
very
great.
perverse.
Truffaut says it's one of his favorite movies.
Yeah. It's that kind of movie where like you feel like a voyeur kind of
Yes.
watching it. It really has that almost documentary feel.
Yeah,
a
there's
little bit.
kind of like the sound has this echoey quality,
Yeah, it's
like
done-
somebody just happened to set up a camera.
Yeah.
And just witness all these events. But it's really dark. The performances are wonderful. But looking at it from a marriage point of view, it's interesting because Raymond marries all these different women and it's for a scam, but Martha would really love to be married to Raymond.
Right.
And that never happens. But they have the better relationship, I would argue, because she takes part in his work. They instead of initially being torn apart by the fact that he's a con man, she kind of shrugs it off. Like, oh, okay. And then gets on board with the program.
Right.
But she's also the fly in the ointment because of her jealousy. I don't want to give too much away, but I will say that they do get caught and go to jail, and they express undying love right until the end.
Right.
And she did really kind of find her quote-unquote soulmate, but in this very, very dark way.
That's the silver lining. It sounds like she was trying to fix him. And this is very common when women date the bad boy, because they figure, I'm going to fix him, I'm going to change him,
yes.
I'm going to settle him down, which sometimes they're successful. There's a guy in my movie. This single guy, and he meets the woman who settles him down, or it's like she gets the bridle in this prize racehorse.
Yes.
And it can happen, but it's more often not likely to happen because people don't change to suit you.
In your documentary, there are a number of people that express the view of the guys, especially, say that the woman is the one who really runs the relationship. In this movie, I would say it's not that way at all. And
Well, he does fall for her, right?
he does fall for her. And even though
Femme fatale.
there's a I think the last relationship that he has, there's a woman who's pretty attractive and she has a daughter, and he ends up getting her pregnant. And that, of course, throws Martha off the deep end.
Right.
And the fact that he promised her after catching him with some women that he was never going to do that again. Then to not only have that happen again, but to get the woman pregnant, that causes some very horrific happenings.
If anybody ever tells you, I will never do that again, they are lying.
Oh.
Just
Okay.
know that right from the start.
Okay, now you say that. If anyone says that to you, now
I don't think he said it in that voice.
But if when you point at someone, there are three other fingers that are pointing back at you. So
that's good. I like
If
that.
I was to say, I'll never do that again, honey, are you saying that I need to really think about this? Because I may do it again.
Let's say you actually never did it again.
Okay.
You're still going to be resentful that you can't do it anymore, and you're going to take it out in other ways.
Well, maybe not necessarily. I mean, we're not getting specific about what it is that hypothetically I might have done.
What did you do, Larry?
What did you and your sperm do?
Yeah. What did your pointy assassin sperm do?
And don't get any on the table.
Just aim for the dish.
The main secret to happiness, according to the experts, is you can't ask someone to change. The only person you have control over is yourself. You can change your behavior. You have control of your behavior.
Okay.
But the secret to success and happiness is to, first of all, accept yourself for who and what you are as a species. What you are, you have to accept it and love it.
A blobbyless pussy.
You have to love that about yourself. And then you have to accept your partner for what and who they are.
Right,
Acceptance is the key because as the Gottmans say, Julie Gottman says in my film, 69% of relationship problems are never fixed. They're, at best, they're addressed and accepted, and then you move past them.
Because it's compromise, right? Which sometimes I think people don't always can do very easily.
Well, we hear this all the time. We all, you need to compromise in marriage. You need to compromise in this, and we're compromising in this show. I mean, we're constantly compromising.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, Larry.
Surrounded by
compromise.
Look, you're not the only one who compromises, Matt.
Look.
This show is an example.
I just want you to hear me.
I hear. And by the way, that is a lovely haircut you have.
Thank you. That's twice. You gotta expand. See, now
you look great. You must be losing weight.
Okay, well that's clearly not true. But okay.
This is Larry because before we started, I advised Larry that you should start every relationship or every date or every
Business,
job interview,
right.
Walk in and give a compliment.
I think it's a little late for Larry when it comes to our relationship.
You know what? I want to point out, I am trying to work on our relationship. Perhaps you haven't noticed that?
I noticed the little things you do.
They're little
the
things.
Notes, the presents. He brings me presents.
I think you should talk about the letter.
Well, this is great.
But now, with Martha, what I see in her is she likes the bad boy thing. And I think that even though she's outraged when she catches Raymond doing stuff with other women, I don't think she's really all that surprised. I think she knew right from the get-go that this was going to be a continual thing. And you also get the feeling like she almost, in a strange way, enjoys the battle, this cat and mouse thing that's happening in their relationship. The challenge, the murders and so forth. I remember a part of your documentary talking about ways... Huh?
Murder?
No. well,
I don't remember that.
They were talking about ways to revitalize the passion in your relationship
through murder,
to do new things.
That's a big thing, yeah.
To do new things.
Everybody agrees that passion drops over time, and so they want to know how to get it back again.
And doing something together that's a new kind of adventure.
Like The Purge, and just go on a killing spree.
What bigger adventure could there be than murder?
Right.
That's one.
But
murder
we're not
conning.
Yes, but you know what? We're not saying to listeners you need to go out and murder. No, that's not what we're saying.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying in the case of Martha and Raymond, that was their thing.
Right.
And even I don't even think it was we've set out to do this thing. It's just this crazy path that they followed.
Right. Well, it also sounds like she didn't really have a whole lot of other options. I mean,
and there's that too.
Right,
Yes.
I'm reminded of the end of Some Like It Hot with Jack Lemmon and Drag, and it's like, all of these, he's arguing why, was it Joey Brown?
Joey Brown.
And finally, like, you don't understand, I'm a man. Well, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Yeah.
Only as loyal as your options, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah.
I think horror always works best when it involves something, a lot of times when it's like just getting the rug pulled out from under you, something that you didn't expect. And in horror films, I think some of the best examples, like I look at this film as being such a chilling, horrifying look at a marriage because it's like it's the ultimate
Our wedding video.
betrayal. I'm talking about Rosemary's Baby. Because Rosemary, you have Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes who seem to have this good marriage. They're truly in love. It is a good marriage. At least it seems to be at first.
Idyllic.
And this is a favorite of yours, isn't
Roger?
it? Roger?
Love, that was one of the ones I was going to indicate. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because it's a case where she's basically given to the devil because her husband has been, seduced by the idea of material gain and success in the most petty way. Just to be a successful actor, he's willing to literally have Satan take her.
Now,
His wife to the devil.
wait a minute. I will say this though. I mean, it's not
Are
like
you going to defend him?
look. I'm just trying to look at it from a different point of view.
All right, let's hear this.
I'm just saying he's struggling. He's a struggling actor.
As we know, show business is hard.
It's hard,
really hard.
And rents at the Dakota can't be cheap.
And
Thank you.
And if you get this offer, hey, how'd you like to be successful?
Yeah, no, I know. That's what makes it so
and
terrifying.
it doesn't really
though.
need to do much of anything.
I know.
They're going to have
the
a
seduction of it. Well, the
He gets to
Castevets-
watch.
the Castevets.
Castevets,
right?
yeah.
They say they're going to take they're going to take care of it. Like all you have to do is just give her
They
your
can
wife
ha-
over to Satan.
They
Okay.
can have other
That's-
kids. That doesn't mean the other
but
kids
how
are
do
going to
you
be Satan.
How do you
children?
top that?
Yeah,
You're never going to be as good as the Antichrist.
Right.
You know?
But just
never
that
gonna
idea.
be able to live up to that.
and another, I think, a good companion film to that, maybe even more horrific, is The Stepford Wives.
Yeah.
Good one.
Because The Stepford Wives is, this is also, like in the early 70s, the rise of feminism and all this, and the idea that, again, a seemingly good, healthy marriage just goes completely awry when Catherine Ross finds out that basically her husband is going to have her replaced by this slave-like robot who is, an even more like perfect version of her and does anything
Yeah,
he wants.
all
it
the housework.
doesn't
And they'll
talk
just-
back.
Yeah, and they'll just kind of get rid of the real version.
And
of
she
her
never
and just-
ages. The robot or android
but
never
just,
ages.
Again, that idea that there's this club of men who have arranged this and it's fine with them when they're doing this. And that's, again, looking at the husband's like, oh my God, like you never could imagine that a husband could do such a thing like selling you to the devil or replacing you with a
And
robot.
both by Ira Levin, and that was
The
his
paranoia.
hook. That was his hook.
Yeah, the paranoia in this in
and
marriage.
How long was he married? I'm just curious.
He sort of did the same thing in Death Trap, and there was a scene in even The Boys from Brazil where it's like, oh shit, my husband sold me out.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe that the person who you're most devoted to would do that to you.
Right.
And that's
It's
where
just
that
something
primal
that's-
horror comes
Right.
in.
It's like the worst possible nightmare come true.
well,
you know?
it depends. Like if you
Depends.
Well,
I gotta hear this.
No, I'm just saying.
Here's your next documentary.
No.
Good reason for
Okay,
stabbing
we're-
in the back.
Well, who was it that said, "Oh, I want to make sure that she doesn't kill me"? And look, if you're sleeping or something, if she chooses to kill you while you're sleeping, you're not going to know. You're just like, bang, you're gone.
That's
know?
a very actually. There's a historical thing. It's called I think it's farmer deaths. It happened a lot on farms where these farmers would just die in their sleep because it was the only way out for the wife.
No. Well, what would they
That's
do?
a good idea.
I mean, like suffocating with their pillow or something?
Yeah. Put them out because they have
Lorena
to do while
Bobbitt.
they're asleep.
Lorena Bobbitt. I've been watching that documentary.
Oh, yeah.
And
Did she intend to? I don't think she
she
intended
didn't intend
to
to kill him.
She just intended to it was
but
like
she
get rid of that.
She cut off his penis
Yes.
after quite a bit of abuse.
Imagine you're living
Right.
on a farm in the middle of nowhere, maybe 30
Right.
miles away from the nearest other person, and there's no help coming, and you're stuck with someone who you now detest. You can't stand him, and
It's like a prison.
what other way out is there for you at that point?
Well, what you
Right,
need to
right.
do is hopefully the farmhouse has many rooms, and you could say you spend.
cross
Why
this line.
are you guys laughing? No, I'm just
Why
saying.
are you defending
No, I'm
the
just-
abusive
No,
farmer
I'm not.
whose
I'm,
wife just simply wants
Why are
to
you defending
suffocate her way
Satan?
out of this marriage?
I'm just saying. Look, he's bringing up this whole farm death thing, and
I like
I'm,
it.
Yeah, okay.
I like it.
Look,
See,
if-
here's the thing. With the farm death scenario, when the authorities come, most of the time, they don't want to dig into who did it.
no.
Oh, he died in his sleep. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well,
And
he's
it's done.
He's a farmer. He's out working. He's sweating
Everybody
or whatever,
wins.
And maybe he ate too much buttered corn or something. And
Why did you have to say buttered corn?
Is this a callback?
No, I just love buttered corn for many reasons.
by the way, I really like how those headphones look on you.
What did I do now? Wow.
He's rejuvenating your relationship.
I did.
Look,
Murder spree? What do
don't you
think?
feel
what do you
good,
think,
though?
Larry? I do feel good.
How does it make you
I
feel?
feel pretty.
It feels nice, doesn't it?
I feel pretty
when
and young.
when someone says something nice to you.
I like it a lot.
It's a good rule to adopt in your life in general.
Now,
That is true, yes.
now just jumping back to Stepford Wives.
Good suggestion, Roger.
Yes, thank you, Roger. I feel bad for the Catherine Ross character
right.
because she's being replaced.
Just a little bit, yeah.
But going back to Rosemary's Baby, he doesn't want, the husband doesn't want to get rid of her. It's like, hey, it's this little trade we're doing.
How are you defending this idea?
Oh,
Honey?
she's still gonna love the Antichrist child.
And she does.
Yeah,
she
well,
does.
she does.
Oh!
but-
You have an Antichrist child, and you're gonna go. Oh, I don't want that Antichrist child in my house. Get out of here, Antichrist child.
Considering
you're
everything
gonna
that led up
if-
to this
if
event,
that is your
I
child,
might have some weird views about the kid.
If that
I don't
is-
like kids already.
Look, I know you don't, but look, if that is your child, you're gonna do. It's like, oh, so he beat up a little kid at school. Well, there's little devil Tommy.
Well,
I mean,
he's the Antichrist. What are you gonna do?
But it's like, you'd probably
Antichrist
talk.
will be Antichrist.
You'll talk to him and you go, look, Tommy, Devil Tommy, that's not the way that you're supposed
Devil
to.
Tommy's a little bit of a giveaway.
I think the baby's name was Adrian.
Okay.
He was Adrian.
Yeah, okay,
yes.
right,
okay.
that's right.
So
okay.
there's a number of things happening in that movie. You've got the
Right.
betrayal of the husband. It also shows why you shouldn't have kids.
No. Roger, this is what I want to ask you. Okay, you're Mr. Marriage expert now. You've done the movie. I mean, can that marriage still work?
Oh, that's a good question. Good question, Larry.
In
course
Rosemary's
it
Baby?
Because who amongst us
it's
hasn't
true.
had
At the end, she kind of doesn't give in. She's going to take care of the child.
I mean, look,
Guys, fuck up.
who amongst us hasn't made a mistake? We all make mistakes. Okay, I get it.
I
Okay,
will
granted-
never give you to Satan again.
I promise.
It was a big mistake to give you Satan, but can they go out and hey, let's try Foursquare dancing, honey. Let's get out there and try and
that'll make
Come on,
up for
no, come on, rejuvenize our relationship. It's like, all right, so we got the devil child that has beady black eyes, but hey, let's. What do you
Happy
think?
birthday, honey. Oh, you still haven't forgotten about the devil and the thing. And the
But
baby.
can that work?
It can work if both people are happy with the way it is. You might remember in the film, there's a moment when Don Blanquito is talking about, he says, you know what? I didn't want to have a kid. If you asked me today if I want to have a child, I'd say I want to wait 10 more years. And I didn't want to have a child. And then his wife says, oh no, I decided that we wanted to have a child, and that's why we had a child. And he was like, what? He didn't know. He'd never known until that point. You see on his face the realization.
Right.
And he goes, oh, that's fucked up. As he realizes she, captured him in a sense.
Right.
And then she says, but you were so happy now. And he agrees, yes, I have never been happier, and I love my child more than I could have ever imagined. And with Rosemary's Baby, something similar could happen, where suddenly, even though she wasn't really into it, she comes around.
Yeah, by the end, she's like, you get the idea that she's going to care for this child, even though.
Because look, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Okay, I know everyone's jumping on my back here, going, "Oh, the Antichrist." I think seriously. A few years down the road, it's like what? It's not like little Antichrist is going to have magical powers or anything. No, he's just a little.
yeah.
He's just a little kid. He's just and he grows up and
He has his father's eyes.
She's gonna teach him the right and wrong and stuff.
And bring on the apocalypse and all the stuff he's supposed to do.
You went to Catholic school.
Yes, I
Do you
did.
know anything about the Bible?
I know a lot about the Bible.
It wasn't up to him. whether he's gonna...
Hey, here's your problem here, buddy. What you're thinking
that relationship is over.
Is that how good my headphones look? That's my problem.
I
Just
see.
too beautiful.
You see, this is the way Matt works. It's like, let's interrupt Larry with a joke. Ha, ha, ha. Very funny. And he does not let Larry talk. No, but what happens is...
You're having no trouble talking. Word count. If you do a word count, I think
Okay, look.
All right. Someone just got their name on the favorites board.
I'm just trying to speed it along because I know sometimes if I don't make myself clear and tell the story, then they're going to jump in with their little joke.
Okay.
Good writing.
Speed it along.
What I'm going to say is it's like as the devil child grows up, he's not going to say, "Ooh, I'm going to cause the end of the world." He is. No, he's going to have a lot of things. No, he's going to have a lot of things. He wants to have live in a big house and have lots of. He's going to have lots of wealth.
That'll come later.
Yeah.
First, he's going to play.
If we go on to The Omen, he's going to knock people off of their ladders and they're going to fall.
Well, I mean, what do you think? But that's okay.
Having fun.
Yes, but
he's
that's
having a good time.
No.
It's in his nature. It's in his nature.
See, no, that's where you're wrong, Roger. That's where you're wrong. And I'm going to draw the line.
Anything.
No, yes, he did. Yes, he did. Damien in The Omen, it wasn't like he was having fun. It was like things just happened. Things happened around him. It wasn't like he went out of his way to make
evil things.
Yeah.
But they were like...
Is that the excuse you use with your wife? Just, hey, things just happen.
Okay, Sean brought up 2 movies, okay? This is great. I think we should move along.
No, we're not going to move along.
No.
Because there's a great book that's by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman called Good Omens. And it's a kind of a comedic version of The Omen where the babies get switched at the hospital
at birth.
Accidentally at birth. So
you've brought this up before.
Yeah, instead of the Antichrist going to the witchy family that raises him and grooms him, he goes to this hippie, groovy, touchy-feely, love the environment family and learns to be a really good kid. And so it's funny because we got this other kid who's supposed to be the Antichrist and he shows no aptitude for it at all. and I wonder too if it's the nature versus nurture a little bit there. But
Right.
I think when you've got the Antichrist, the Antichristiness is going to come out.
Can I talk a little bit more about babies? Mutant babies it's kind of my jam in
I
one
love
sense.
Really?
I all I want to hear about is
It's
mutant
alive.
babies.
So wait, this is the product of this macabre marriage.
Would be a baby.
Is a baby. Well, the whole point...
In most marriages, the big thrust is to start a family.
I'm going to back up a little bit. The entire purpose of marriage is for the pooling of resources to raise children. Mm-hmm. That's why you sign a contract. It's so that both parties know that you're each committed for at least 18 years
Yes.
to this project.
That's right.
It's a legal
Larry
agreement.
Some
looks at
people
Matt.
here have followed their contract. Others have not.
It's about babies.
I've had my penis laminated, so
It's about babies. Marriage is about babies. Not everybody has babies, of course.
No, because some people have too many 2-headed sperm and little
Right.
little conehead sperm.
okay. Now, I think the word count is going to now go
Increasing.
into Roger's favor.
It's increasing. I've always been in sort of enthralled with the idea of a baby, and a lot of these movies that have mutant babies in them are really just kind of a metaphor for cancer. Like there's something growing inside you that's nightmarish and weird, and it wants out, and it's going to kill you if you're not careful. Because a woman getting pregnant can be fatal, and it used to be fatal.
Yes.
in human history.
true, yes.
A large percentage of the time.
Yeah.
So Rosemary's Baby is like this cancer growing inside her, and she's conflicted about it, but she also loves it. It's a part of her.
She's in
and
pain most of the time during that pregnancy.
It's horrific.
Horrific.
Right?
Horrible.
What women go through to produce another version of themselves, of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Alien is another movie. It's another example where, it's a man who's got this entity growing inside him, and he gives birth, and it bursts out of his chest. It's self-cesarean, and it comes out, and
And he's
runs away.
he's literally impregnated.
He's raped.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's also a metaphor on cancer in growing inside him.
Inside the ship,
this,
even
this
the ship
alien
has
thing that's rebelling against his entire body.
It
Yeah.
has
Right.
blood like acid.
Yeah, and
Right.
well, that's the sci-fi part of it. The rest is accurate.
Okay.
That's where they're stretching it a little bit, I think. But I think
I've met some kids with acid blood.
I think we talked about this when I was here last time. Was a book called The Voyage of the Space Beagle.
I read that since you
I
brought it
recommended
up,
it.
and I enjoyed it very much.
Isn't it awesome?
It is great.
And Alien is taken from one of the
Yeah.
stories in there,
I
The
love
Black
how
Destroyer.
Yes. And
The
I love
short
how
story.
all those stories come together. It's a very satisfying conclusion. A really great book.
It's 1940s, the heyday of sci-fi, and people have been wrestling with this concept with motherhood for a long time. And in A.E. Van Vogt's book, it's about this alien that enters a spaceship and lays eggs inside of humans, and they grow. And same story. There are lots of these mutant baby movies. I want to name my top 3.
Go.
All right, but first I'm going to lead up to it with the ones I rejected. The Terror Within.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah. It's
kinda like an Alien ripoff.
Gargoyle Baby.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was good, but
It's fun.
Fun.
It's fun. Train Spotting. Remember the baby on the ceiling?
Yes. That
yeah.
was
Yeah.
freaky.
Danny
Totally
Boyle.
freaky.
And of course, The Fly.
Oh.
Now, it's only a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only a dream that she gives birth to a maggot.
Right.
But that,
we're
that's,
talk-
a,
we're-
that's a whole nother thing, though, when it comes to the marriage.
Now we're talking about David
Yeah.
Cronenberg's The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
Yes, correct.
Okay, let us-
Not the
let us-
first one.
Because
No,
if, you go,
yes.
if you go back to the original, that film poses the question, when do you bail on the marriage? When do you go
right.
like, I can't, this is something, I know we said till death do you part, but now you have a fly head in hand, and I don't think I can handle it.
Right.
That's you're broken a contract, right? When you marry somebody, you've made a contract with somebody that I'm going to love you forever as long as you don't change too much beyond what I'm attracted to now, and you don't lose your job beyond the comfort that I'm used to, I'm
Right.
expecting with you.
Or
If those
lose your-
things shift on either side, people get upset or frustrated and
well, in the
out
world
of balance.
And in the world of horror, it's like losing your actual humanity, becoming something else, becoming a monstrosity.
But look,
You've changed.
right, right.
Okay, see,
Talk about a movie that is the ultimate example of you've changed.
yes, but see, here's your problem. Your problem is okay. Let's say so
Your
and
words don't make me feel good, Larry.
So you and your lovely wife, who I love dearly, okay, you guys get married. Hey, we got to sign a contract. And all of a sudden, she starts to turn into a fly.
Yes.
Okay. Now, part of me would go, you know what? That's actually kind of cool.
Okay, nope.
But it's like for you signed that contract. You can't say, oh, hey, fly girl, you got to go.
The minute the first really stiff hair pops out,
Right,
I'm like,
you're done.
we got to talk.
You can trim that.
That's a very powerful wax.
All right. So
that.
what are some other ones?
I also
Yeah.
want to mention too, like The Fly is sort of a retelling of Metamorphosis.
Kafka.
True,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. Well, much more the Cronenberg's version.
Yeah,
as much,
right.
It's really, you're right. It's actually one of the almost more accurate versions of that story.
It's
In
struggling
sci-fi horror form. Yeah.
with changing, from what you used to be. Men go through this struggle when you lose your job. That's kind of what happens. You become a useless insect.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, right, Larry.
Yeah.
I think we can be friends again.
Yeah.
A man is what he does.
Okay.
So you got to find a new career, or that's how you become reborn. And
I could get a job at the circus if I started to turn into a fly, though. I could be.
Oh, that's true.
You know,
Wow, that is
and
true.
introducing Larry the Fly Man, the
Even
fly
if you just
guy.
had the hand.
Yeah.
You could probably have a pretty satisfying life with just a fly hand.
Yeah.
And make a good amount of money.
Yeah.
It's a superpower, really.
Yeah. Because it's got to be powerful, right? And,
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the fly. What else you got there?
I also like. Have you seen the movie Splice?
Yes. I enjoyed that.
You would.
I don't.
Yeah.
The scientist, it's like this genetically created being that's kind of both male and female.
Yes.
And
It
it's
switches.
kind of like, it's kind of hot to the guy, but kind of
A
not.
really
but like-
amazing performance
Yeah.
by that actress.
Who-
who
wait,
I can't remember.
What's the date on this one?
Sarah Polley. Adrian Brody, Sarah Polley.
Adrian Brody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One-
it's,
no,
it's
Academy
really
Award
good.
winner.
It's really good. And yeah, she has this bonding to Adrian Brody. It's almost like a strange sort of connection between being like a father figure and a lover.
Would you recommend
Yeah.
this?
Oh, absolutely.
It is. Although as we're watching it, I remember like I always felt the scientists in that movie were the most irresponsible, most
there is
bumbling
that.
scientists in the history.
How
of,
did this thing is allowed to run around in the garage?
Right,
Yeah.
right. But it is interesting. It's interesting.
I
kind
enjoyed
of
it. I liked it.
monster, yeah.
Okay, what else you got there?
Have you seen the movie called Grace?
I do.
Yes,
A
that's
woman-
a pretty twisted one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
her baby. They tell her baby is dead. She gives birth stillborn.
Right.
Yeah.
But then she doesn't want to let go of it,
Right.
and so she gives birth anyway.
Yeah.
And then it's like it's still
Kinda
alive
alive.
because
Her yearning.
brings it
to life again,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a zombie-like baby. It has a taste for blood.
Zombie baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like
Twisted.
that one a lot.
Yeah.
You can see how again it's sort of that something is within me that's eating me alive, and that's
But that maternal instinct
disease.
is so strong with her, that
Yeah.
no matter even to the point where she has a zombie blood
yeah.
drinking baby.
You know,
she's still
And not letting go, your emotional pain becomes a physical one.
You know, it's funny you should bring this up because when my wife was pregnant with our daughter, it was like in the early stages. And my wife and I were sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden she feels something move in her stomach, and she goes, "Oh my God, honey, feel this? I just felt so." And I put my hand on her tummy and I go, "You're the host." And she always remembered that. And it was kind of like the science fiction horror thing inside me. I couldn't help. It just kind of came out. I realize now that's probably not the best thing to have said.
It's hilarious,
that.
though.
But she still says, "You remember when you said you're the host?" Yeah, I'm sorry about
funny.
that. Yeah.
Did you ever share that with your daughter?
Out.
I don't know if I've shared that with her. She'd probably love that.
Now she's of the age where she would appreciate
Right.
it.
Yeah.
All right, I have two more.
Okay.
Go.
The baby, of course, the baby in Eraserhead.
That is just so.
What an
We've talked about
So
that.
disturbing.
I think if you are
perfect example of, like,
if you're
of, like,
expecting or
birth
something,
horror.
don't go see that movie.
Yeah, that is a twisted one.
That is.
It's full of bizarre, like the woman who lives in the radiator.
yeah,
Oh, with
yeah.
the weird
Oh, yeah.
cheeks.
But even that, the whole baby thing and the constant
Yeah.
crying,
Yeah,
and
it's a
just what it
true
looked
nightmare.
like. It was
But the
so
baby
disturbing.
is still you kind of like it. You
Yeah.
feel for it. You
Yeah,
care about
you
it.
do.
Yeah,
Yes,
because even though it looks like a lizard or something.
It looks like something
It's like a baby
that
dinosaur.
went bad in your refrigerator that then
Yeah.
came to life.
It looks like it was one of the two-headed sperm or the sperm cone head thing that got
that was
in
the
there.
result.
Yeah.
Then it gets sick. Remember, it gets the
Yeah,
measles.
yeah.
Or
Yeah.
something.
There's a
gross.
great Dead Kennedy song called "Too Drunk to Fuck."
Oh yeah, rolling down the stairs, too drunk to fuck.
Yeah, and there's one of the lines in it is "You bawl like the baby in a razor head."
Because it just won't shut up.
Yeah.
And any parent
yeah.
can probably tell you.
Oh,
Right.
I can tell you there were times when, our daughter she wouldn't sleep through the night.
Right.
She was like vampire baby, basically.
Right.
And there were times when, when you lose sleep day after day after day, it fucks with you, man.
Oh, totally.
It fucks with you. And there were times when my wife and I were just going nuts. And I remember thinking to myself, "Oh my God, will this ever end? Is my daughter is she just gonna go through her whole life, being up through the night and
Just crying when until she's 25.
yeah." But fortunately, it did end eventually. It was well over 2 years though. But yeah,
Wow.
that's
Well, that's what horror movies are a lot of times. Just taking these human experiences and emotions and fears and then exaggerating them or transporting them into another time or place
Yeah.
or a monster baby.
Right.
And what's your
My
top
all-time favorite monster baby is in a film called Dead Alive. Peter Jackson's
Oh, yeah.
greatest movie.
Oh yeah,
Fantastic.
When a priest and a nurse who are already dead have sex, and then she gives birth to this baby, and it's alive and it's kind of powerful and it's crawling around and running around and causing mayhem and laughing at everybody and chasing and it's so inventive and creative. It's amazing.
and sick
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But I like sick things. That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
macabre
I
element of
know.
this that's fun. Like in the remake of Dawn of the Dead, there's
Oh, yes.
there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
zombie baby that deserves way more screen time.
Yeah.
I will agree with you there because that was, first of all, it was horrifying.
Yeah.
And it was something that I thought, oh my gosh, this is something that I'm surprised hadn't been brought up before. And
Right.
it's really, really terrifying.
Yeah, because with Dead Alive, there's a comedic
It's a
aspect
comedic-
to
yeah,
that
that's true.
movie. Whereas with the Dawn of the Dead thing, I'd like to see some more versions of that because it is such a horrifying image.
Right.
I mean, Matt has said, think about when a regular baby, your regular, normal sperm baby is born, they're crying and, they want to be fed. They want this. And Matt has said, if a baby were giant size, wouldn't the baby kill you for a cookie, right? So
Which is actually, I'm paraphrasing Rick Reynolds.
yes, that's true. But it's true. Imagine a zombie baby. So if a zombie baby is just as hungry and just as angry, and it doesn't want a nipple for milk, it wants to bite and tear flesh. That is really, really terrifying.
Well, in this, of course, it's alive. We can't talk about evil babies without mentioning that.
Right.
There's It's Alive and It's Alive.
It's alive.
2.
It lives again.
It lives again,
and then
right.
Island of the
Island
Alive.
of the Alive.
And that-
where
that-
they're adolescents at that point, right?
Yeah, and they become, there's some adult ones too. But
Yeah.
those movies kind of explore the idea that like there's something changing in our evolution. They're like the
New race.
race, because there's what's scary about it is there's no real explanation of why this is happening. It's not like by radiation. It's not by supernatural. It's just women all over the world are suddenly giving birth to these hideous.
There's something in the
babies.
air.
Genetic.
Yeah.
But getting back to the marriage aspect of all this is
Right.
that when you have one of these mutant babies, when you have the It's Alive baby, how that affects the marriage. And I'm not saying this to be funny, but if you have a child that is autistic or difficult in any way,
Well, all children are difficult, but autistic children are especially difficult.
right, a special needs child is what I'm saying. That adds another element of pressure, maybe, and some stress to the relationship too. And that
Sure.
it takes a strong bond between that couple to be able to stay together and overcome, or not overcome, but deal with
Right.
day-to-day life raising this child.
Well, that was
Right.
the takeaway from the first It's Alive movie for me. It was just so incredibly tragic when suddenly, these parents, it's a killer, evil baby, but
It's still their baby.
It's still their baby,
And
but they
they're-
have to kill it. And
Right, right.
it's just suddenly that part of it hits you in a real way. It's
But
like,
they don't want to. And right up till I think like the very end, at least the first movie,
Yeah.
they're really trying to keep this baby alive
Right.
in any
Right.
way they can.
Well, this is all great about talking about babies. But getting back to Macabre Marriages, there was a movie that was made a while back that who knows what that marriage would have created, what kind of baby. And that is from 1958, I Married a Monster from Outer Space.
I think we all had that one, right?
Yes.
That's your quintessential, like, who is my husband really?
Yes.
Paranoid 50s
Yes.
communism kind of.
Have you seen this movie?
I love this movie. I really, really
too.
do. And,
Yeah,
and
it's good.
I love the poster. I love the lobby cards. I want to get a lobby card to hang up in our living room so people can come, go, oh, see Larry's robots, and oh, what's this? I Married a Monster from Outer Space. Oh, well, Carrie, looks like you really did. That kind of a thing.
I like the fact that you've written a one-act play revolving around your
Now,
poster.
this was directed by Gene Fowler, who actually directed I Was a Teenage Werewolf, one
Which
of
I
your
love,
classic
yeah.
favorites. And it stars the beautiful Gloria Talbot, who I absolutely, oh, God, I love her. She was in such classic movies as The Cyclops, daughter of Dr. Jekyll, and The Leech Woman. And also Tom Tyrone. Now, the cool thing about it is, okay, so I Married a Monster from Outer Space. For those of you who haven't seen it, there's this lovely, attractive young lady who's engaged to this, tall, strapping young man, and they're going to get married, and it seems like everything's going to work out. But something happens to the guy. What you don't know, eventually find out, is these aliens come down and take on the form of her future husband.
And a number of other people in the town.
In the town, exactly. And so, like Sean said, it kind of deals with this communism thing, is your loved one, a commie kind of a thing.
Right? Do you really know your spouse?
But if you think about it,
It's always commies with
these,
you.
I mean, they get married, and if you think about on their wedding night, oh my gosh, she's actually having sex with an alien.
Depends, Get me on the right day,
Well,
maybe that's exciting.
the weird thing is, when you look at some of the lobby cards, there's an image where she's looking through the window and he has this kind of scared look, and you're not sure, is she the alien or is she the monster from outer space? You don't really know. So I think when you look at that, you can kind of go back and forth. Is the woman the alien? And we've seen this type of thing, whether it's like in Species or something like
and
that.
isn't it like the aliens are kind of just trying to repopulate their
That's
race?
right.
They're,
Because they have a lot of like two-headed or cone-head sperm or something,
Okay.
and
Okay. All right.
and so it's like they or the
God.
female of their species can't procreate, so they have to
is
go.
there a hammer-headed sperm that we can
yeah,
just hammer this
yes.
idea in?
But they can't. So what they need to do is they need to go to Earth to get females, so they can repopulate their species.
Mars needs women.
Yeah.
and you saw that like the Mysterians did the same.
And
the same
unlike
concept.
what Matt says, I find Gloria Talbot to be absolutely gorgeous in this. She has that great haircut and a tight sweater, and so I think she's stunning.
If Audrey Hepburn is just way too vivacious for you, then
Audrey Hepburn, really? You're going with Audrey Hepburn?
Yeah, I think I will.
I'd like
I
you to
will.
know that people found Audrey Hepburn to be quite attractive, my friend.
she's fine.
She's fun. Fine.
Yeah, not my cup of tea.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Well,
my cup of tea. She's brunette, so
yeah,
there's that.
well, Gloria Talbot
But she's got the little boy haircut, which I don't
It's
like.
not a little boy haircut.
Yeah, she looks like a Japanese.
I always thought that more women find Audrey Hepburn more attractive than men do.
Yeah, it's always whenever my wife says, "Oh, she's so beautiful," it's like, okay, no.
Well, look, the point I was trying to make as far as Macabre Marriages, I think that's a good movie, okay?
I love the idea, though, of being uncertain of who your spouse really is, because people go
Right.
through moods and then they seem different.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
they've hidden who they really are, because when you go on a date, it's two masks that are dating.
Yes.
You don't get the real person
That's true.
in most cases.
And in that movie, this thing happens like right around the time of when they get married. And so for the first, year of the marriage,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, he's different now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like he doesn't have to perform or something, and yeah, it's...
But yeah, people change, and that's the thing too. Is it you? Is it an alien? And I wonder, isn't there a psychological disorder where all of a sudden the people closest to you think have all changed? They've all been replaced. I know I've read something somewhere where that's a weird psychosis.
Right. It's possible.
Yeah. I mean, there's a Stephen Wright joke, too. Remember when I came home and someone had stolen all my furniture and replaced it with exact duplicates in my furniture?
Well, that actually ties into the title I wanted to bring up, which is called A Good Marriage. And it's a Stephen King story from about 9 years ago.
Right.
That was adapted into I think a TV or made-for-cable movie with Joan Allen and Anthony LaPaglia, which didn't really do the story justice. It's a novella. And it's about a middle-aged couple, told from mainly the wife's point of view. And she's looking for something in the garage. And she comes upon a milk crate that she first thinks is her husband's like porn stash. But then when she looks through this, she comes to realize that there's more to it than that. There's like snuff magazines and clippings of serial killer news.
Right.
And she comes to realize pretty quickly that her husband is the serial killer and he's collecting these clippings.
Right.
So she's the beard.
Well, here's the kick of the story and what I think made King interested in exploring it. Their kids are grown. They're in school. One of them is going to be married soon. She doesn't want to make waves. She doesn't want to bring
Disturb
upon
the status quo.
Yeah, which the whole town is going to talk about. It's going to ruin their lives.
Right.
So she goes along with the marriage for quite a while.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's just one of those, it kind of goes to show, okay, you know your spouse for what they are. How much are you really willing to compromise based on what you've built together?
Isn't that a common thing, though, Roger? Isn't this what you found? Maybe you get to a certain
you go
point, you go,
along for the sake of the marriage, right?
yeah,
You've
might as
invested
well.
so much into this relationship that
Right.
even that is kind of like, maybe it's just a phase. It'll get over.
Or you don't say it's phase. You go, all right. Oh, he likes.
We'll wait till
He's got his things. I've got my precious moments.
We'll wait
shared
till after
experiences.
Buffy's wedding, and I'll deal with it then. You know?
Well, the child, first off, there's a child, and then obviously that's the anchor that holds the marriage together sometimes. But then there's shared experiences. It's going to take years to recreate a backstory with somebody. So starting over is fun, but it's also you're starting over without having that connection.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. to
And it's
start over.
very expensive. One thing that didn't make the final cut, I asked somebody about that, and he said, well, I just say to myself, cheaper to keep her. It's cheaper to keep her. That's his mantra.
Well, one thing too in relationships, if we're talking about repressed emotions, repressed anger, and kids, still one of my favorite movies ever was 1979's The Brood.
Oh, yeah.
By David Cronenberg. Talk about a twisted relationship.
I saw that in a drive-in.
Yeah, and just you have Samantha Egger and Art Hindle who, have this troubled marriage. She is seeing a psychologist who has this very unorthodox way of treating his patients through something called like psychoplasmics.
I did that.
Yeah. And she has this history of like being abused by her parents and trust issues with her husband. And so she, through this therapy run by Oliver Reed, so you know you're in trouble when he's
Right.
when Oliver Reed is your doctor.
Requires bourbon
Yeah.
and
Lots of
psychoplasmics.
yelling. So, she gets out all her anger and all her rage physically. She physically manifests itself. But for her, she literally gives birth to like children of rage.
She has an external sac on her body this external womb that produces these little troglodyte blonde-haired kids.
who instinctively go after the people who have wronged her.
They
that
are her-
they're literal manifestations of her rage.
Yes, yeah.
You know?
Can this relationship work?
Yeah. I mean, just a great example of like a completely fractured marriage and a completely twisted, parental situation.
There's no fixing that.
Yeah.
The minute, I would say, you already have trouble when someone is just angry all the time. But then you take that anger and you make it manifest itself in little troglodyte boys with hammers after everyone that you're mad at.
Right.
One of the experts said that when I asked them what should we do to improve our marriages or relationships or what do we look out for, and she said the number one thing that you should look out for in a partner is rage issues, inability to control anger. That's going to be the biggest problem for men or women, either side. If you've got someone who can't control their rage, you're going to be in trouble.
Because we all get angry.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we don't create sacks of troglodytes.
Right.
No, but you're saying control, being able to control your anger.
My sacks are words.
You have to be able to de-escalate is what they teach, so you don't get to that point.
Right.
When you do have, when people who do have that problem with rage, they're triggers, the things that set you off. You get into a pattern that gets you up to DEFCON 7, and you want to stop it at DEFCON 1. And one way is the experts have ways of dealing with conflict, and I have a chapter about this in the movie, how to deal with conflict. That's something we all experience. Every relationship is a power struggle.
Yes, it is.
And it's a continually shifting balance.
Constantly.
And you're achieving a new equilibrium as soon as if somebody gets caught cheating, that creates a huge power struggle, and then a new equilibrium happens where usually the woman is now above and the man has been lowered because he's been busted and now he doesn't want to get in trouble again, whatever. Parents to child, employer to employee, boyfriend, girlfriend. There's a constant power struggle going on, and then equilibrium's shifting and changing as each person acknowledges there's a new power balance. And conflict is about dealing with tasks where together you've got to solve a problem with somebody. John Gottman, one of the psychologists I talked to, said that he can tell with 90% accuracy whether a relationship is going to last by watching the couple solve a small task together for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes.
Really?
And the number one sign, when they can tell, is condescension. If either partner is dismissive of the other, the relationship is probably doomed. When they're respectful of each other's opinions or value each other's opinions, then they've got a good chance of making it when they're solving an issue. And where it comes to play, he said, is that the marriage starts with planning the wedding. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made there. So you should look really carefully at how that went down or how that goes down.
That went really well in our case.
Yeah.
Well, you're still together?
Yeah. Ours too, because like we both, I think with my wife and I, we both wanted things simple and not expensive and not, like for us it was like it's just a ceremony. It's not,
You're well matched then.
I don't think my wife expected me to be as involved as I wanted to be, I think.
Yeah?
Really?
Yeah.
Was that a good thing?
You found out
Larry
who's
just
in
shrugged.
charge, right?
Yes.
And it's good you find that out early.
I guess she and her mom were kind of like, oh, I didn't know
He had
I
any
would be
opinions, right?
be interested in this. And I go, yes, I wanted the roast beef carving station. I wanted that.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Right.
In my case, it was the prevailing element was that my wife wanted to spend more than I did, and we're still having that conversation.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting when you talk about anger issues. You first have to find a place of trust where you realize that whatever is happening is not happening because this person's out to destroy you. And then sometimes they are, and that's the relationship you get out of. But getting to a place where you go, okay, this is just feelings. This is just emotions kind of running amok, but it's not because I think this person wishes ill will on me. And if you get beyond that, you're in a good place.
There are ways to avoid it also. Yeah. And I can give you my best tip. Here's my best tip for men and women. You guys are mostly look like men here in this particular group.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
The number one thing that men need to learn to do better is to listen and then shut up.
Listen and then shut up.
And this will help you increase your passion. You don't have to do it, but if you want better passion and you want a happier woman, what you do is you go home at night.
Okay.
Every day, a woman needs
Hold on, I'm writing.
10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes of you listening. So you should come home, start with a compliment, if possible.
Nice headphones.
Honey, you look so beautiful today. That's never wrong to say, right?
Right.
It's always a good opener.
Good,
But
yeah.
then say, how was your day? Mm-hmm. And don't try to fix anything. Don't offer any suggestions. Just say, oh, that's awful. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That's terrible.
You realize now I can't use any of these lines. Because
Or the
just
positive.
said that.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear
But
that.
what you're saying, though, is you're saying you listen, and these are some responses that you could say, but mean it.
Yeah, well, yes.
You should be interested.
It helps to mean it. You don't. It's not a requirement.
I know.
And you can have a drink first, right?
But
You can have a cocktail.
that's okay. But the thing is, you got to make
Or a
eye
Vicodin.
contact. You have to put down the cell phone, put away everything, and make eye contact.
I know. Just the idea.
And
My wife
listen.
has Tetsu. You don't listen to me. She's said that many
If you
times.
do it-
So if I'm
and it was-
listening while I'm putting a ship inside a bottle,
Active, no. Active listening. Now
Wait,
you
can I be
can
listening while I'm watching
can
Night
with-
of the Lepus?
you can withdraw into your own mind and be doing ships in a bottle in your mind.
mental ships in a bottle. Got
But
it.
you got to make eye contact and listen, and every once in a while offer a verbalization that's proof that you're hearing her.
That sounds terrible.
It's called empathy.
You've had a rough day.
Empathy. You know what empathy
But that's
is?
true. No, I understand
Slowly
that.
but
10 minutes a night.
And
10 minutes.
In our schedules and our days, and like we come home, it's late, and I understand that. But you get so caught up in your stuff, and
gotta make
I
time
know.
You got to
for
make
it.
time.
I know. No, you're right.
You were saying in
A
your
woman needs that, or not necessarily the woman. It's not a gender thing. It's the female energy versus the masculine energy, and it can be reversed. It could be the man could have the female energy, the feminine energy. It could be either way. It doesn't matter. It's whatever works for the couple. You don't have two masculines don't work well together, and two feminines don't work well.
Sometimes
together.
you go back and forth with those roles.
Well, you have different areas of your personality that might be one more than the other.
Right.
But on the average, the feminine needs to be heard, needs to be recognized for 10 to 15, 20 minutes per day. And if she doesn't get that, your life is not going to be what you hope it will be.
So in the
As happy, as much sex, as enjoyable.
keep your eye on the ball.
Yes.
Is what
Now,
you're saying.
for women, never ask a man what he's feeling.
I'm not crazy about that one.
Unless he's puking or bleeding. I'm quoting Dr. Pat, one of the experts that I interviewed, and this is what she says.
I don't even want it then, really. Are you okay? What does it look like?
I'm
Throwing up-
puking and bleeding.
right.
If he's driving, don't tell him to go one way or the other, even though you know the way he's going is going to take 10 minutes longer. Just
Yeah.
let him be the guy with the goal, with the direction-oriented behavior. Don't ask him what he's feeling. You can ask a man what he's thinking, but not what he's feeling. But you ask the woman what she's feeling.
So why is it, do you think, because in the documentary, there was somebody brought up that there'll be a scenario where there's a guy, maybe he's on a date, and all he's doing is just talking about himself. And the woman comes away with like, he didn't really ask anything about me. That means he doesn't really care about me. And it would seem to me like that would be a kind of a no-brainer. I
mean, don't
I
you-
would be able to go, okay, I find if I talk too much about myself, I get to a place where I'm self-conscious. And it's like, okay, well, what about you? What's your story?
But don't you
and
want-
I want to hear somebody else's story.
Oh, don't you want to talk about your collection and how many
Don't
Minton
do
box
it.
things?
Don't
No,
do
I
it.
don't. I
You'll
can't believe-
drive people away.
What? Really?
Ask them what they. If it's a man, ask your friend what he's thinking. And if it's a woman, ask her what she's feeling.
They don't want to hear about my collection.
No, they
and
don't.
My
Not only that, Larry sets a trap for you. Larry sets a trap. This is
whoa.
This is what Larry does.
wait.
Larry
No.
goes like, so I have this collection, and I have this, and I have that, and I have that. And then so somebody else, thinking that it's a conversation, will stumble in with, oh, that's great. You know what? I actually collect some robots too. I've got this and I've got that. Which then Larry replies, oh, yeah? Well, do you have the Lost in Space robot from 1962? And it's really just a way of like setting a trap for him to just
drive you away.
Right, to just go like, I win.
And it's from 1966.
Oh, you didn't get the one from 1962?
There was no robot from
there was
1966.
prototypes.
No,
there were plans.
no, you're wrong.
I got
You're
one.
wrong.
I got one from
Okay.
Irwin Allen's estate.
Yeah, okay. You live in your fantasy world. Go ahead.
If you're at a loss for what to ask someone,
Sorry, he's taken, ladies.
if you're at a loss for what to ask someone, ask them about their dreams,
Their dreams.
about their future, about what they'd love to be doing. Where would they like to travel? Where do they see themselves in their wildest dreams? And then you'll get someone excited and happy to be talking to you and sharing with you what their dreams are.
No, Larry? No? What's wrong with that?
You have no
What are your dreams, Larry?
You know, look, we're not here to talk about me. You're going off on your little thing. You're saying, okay, ask someone about your dreams. So, what do you dream about? So, tell me about your dreams. Is that
Well,
what you're
don't
saying?
say it like that. I know that you're not supposed to necessarily mean it, but sound like you mean it.
Try to work it in a natural way.
Yeah, all right.
Well,
So, what are your dreams?
Never discuss politics, religion, or your collection.
Or
At least not until
Wait,
I want-
Not with strangers.
No. The collection, really?
get down the road a ways before you
There
bring
you
it
go.
up.
Right.
I want that embroidered.
They have to earn that information about you.
Right.
See,
There you
it's
go.
a prize that they're going to win, Larry.
right.
All right. Well, okay.
Now he feels better. He's feeling better now.
I'd like to, but also getting back to like how you have marriages that are already kind of maybe a little bit unstable, a little bit damaged, and then you add a supernatural element into it, and it feeds on that. Like, for example, The Shining
Yeah.
is a good example of that. You know, where it's, I know in the book it may have been different, but in the movie, like I think Matt, you said this, how you kind of knew off the bat that Nicholson and Duvall, you know, it's not the greatest marriage.
No, and it's sort of like, even if he doesn't know that there's a supernatural thing about to hit him, when it happens, he's like, oh, thank God.
You see, but I
Kill everybody.
No, but I will take issue here. I mean, Sean gets off. I don't know where you're getting off on. Like, well, I'm not really sure it's a good. She is trying. She is working on
she's
that.
trying.
She's
Yeah,
dedicated.
she is.
You know, my daughter and I, we watched the film together, and my daughter says, "Gosh, she's so nice, Dad. What's his problem? You know, she's so sweet. I love her." And I go, "Yes, you're right, honey. But I think sometimes he gets a little annoyed with her. I mean, sometimes
and-
she asks like questions that are like pointless. But
the,
on
the
one
ghosts
hand,
and the spirits are feeding
And
off
she's
of
Shelley
his-
Duvall.
Yeah, but they're feeding off of Nicholson's his character, his frustrations and his problems, and they just bring that out of him.
Right.
I mean,
Including his
he's-
alcoholism.
Right, like he's a perfect target for the evil in the hotel.
And it's the same in the book. It's just not drawn as broadly.
No.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the film, you
Yeah.
really get the
Yeah.
feeling where it's just like,
Right.
oh, what a relief.
right.
okay, look.
Demonic, supernatural entities want to take over my body and make me want to kill everyone.
And pour me
A
drinks.
happy
Yeah,
ending.
yeah. And
And pour me drinks. Yeah.
um,
Endless tab.
Burnt Offerings is somewhat similar in that way too. You have Karen Black and Oliver Reed.
Well, Oliver Reed was.
Yeah, but and
He
she
killed
and she-
another family before that.
But she's the one who's seduced by like this spirit in the house, and he's kind of watching her grow farther apart. And then they have a kid too, and it just becomes this whole kind of messy thing. But it's an outside force. It's the house preying upon them and pulling that marriage apart.
But if we're talking about an example like you just brought up with The Shining and Burnt Offerings, you've got a supernatural force that's playing upon these guys. But what if it's something a little more, I guess, mundane? Like the movie Gaslight, which a lot of people don't really necessarily consider a horror film. It's more of a thriller. But to me, that's horror. Because now you've got a guy who has married a woman, and to get what he wants, he's going to drive this woman crazy,
Yeah.
do all these things, and move things around the house and make her think that she's going insane.
Yeah.
And I know that in relationships that I've been in, in my past.
You've done that?
No, I feel like that's been my fear. And this is not necessarily the way it's done in Gaslight. With Gaslight, it's more of a con.
Right.
But I've been in situations where you feel like, is this person trying to drive me crazy? And Gaslight, imagine someone who's not wearing their heart on their sleeve when it comes to that kind of manipulation. They've got a little more guile. And they're playing this long con on you.
Yeah.
And
so the fact that term gaslight has been made, now it's
now
used
it's
as
a
term
term for
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Manipulating somebody
crazy.
psychologically
Yeah.
to make them question their own sanity.
I actually do think of it as a horror film, Matt. And the stuff that's done to her, it's methodical and it's darn right mean. But on one hand, it's like he tries to be nice, and then on the flip side, there's all the sneaky things that he does
right.
to kind of make her lose her mind. And let's face it, if your significant other started to do stuff like that to you, especially at the age we are now, I mean, I could have sworn I left my keys right here. Why aren't they here?
And you would question whether, my wife wouldn't do that.
Of course not.
Yeah,
of course not.
It's-
Where are my pants? I just had my pants right here.
With Ingrid Bergman, you're right. She's very young.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I wonder if that same kind of con would work
Also-
with some years of experience of life.
Also, look, when this takes place, it's not present day. It's back in I forget the date. It's like,
I want to say it's like Victorian
yeah,
times.
Victorian
Yeah.
times. So already the male is more dominant than the female. There's certain roles that she has to play. So she starts questioning herself. Oh my gosh, did I move this? That wasn't there or whatever? And he accuses her of stuff, and it's and he's the man.
Charles Boyer.
He's the man. And
Yeah.
he's so great.
He's so great, yeah.
This is
And I
also
didn't know that there was another version of that, too, that was a few years earlier. There's another version of Gaslight.
And there's also throughout the decades, there's other horror films have done this, like in cheaper and more obvious ways. But there's a fun 1950s film called The Screaming Skull.
A screaming
I love
skull.
that.
Is that
Really,
William
it's a
Castle?
really fun. No,
but
it's William Castle.
It feels like William Castle.
Yeah.
But it's like a
Should
woman
be.
keeps seeing this skull that she keeps appearing in the house, and she's married to a guy, and his previous wife died mysteriously, and so he's like driving her
Playing
crazy.
the same trick on her.
But it's good. It's a fun movie, but it's that
It is
same kind
good.
of idea of the gaslighting. her,
Yeah.
And isn't
you know.
Hitchcock's Suspicion along those lines too? With Cary
That's
Grant?
true. That's true.
and every episode of Mission Impossible.
yeah.
Right.
Or William Castle, the Tingler.
Oh,
Absolutely. To a point,
A husband scares his deaf-mute wife.
literally to death.
I mean, that's his goal.
Right,
I
right.
gotta scare my deaf mute wife to death.
wasn't Dr. Phibes interested in scaring somebody also?
No, he wanted to revive his dead wife, but he set out and got revenge on people through like different deaths from like the
Now,
Bible
what
or
about
something.
that?
Or
That's a
history.
macabre marriage,
Yeah.
but he wants her.
Yeah,
he
that's
wants
true.
her back.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
isn't there...
Reanimator.
Yeah, but there's
Yeah.
a sad quality. He's so hell-bent on revenge and, getting back at the doctors that were responsible for his wife dying. Or how he sees it, at least.
Yeah, well, Darkman was essentially a remake of Dr. Phibes, if you think about it.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. The idea with the face, yeah. But also,
But is that just an example of just grief, just overwhelming you to such an extent that it turns you into a murderer?
but kind of like true love too, to the point where he'll do anything to bring her back.
I say, move on. Go.
But if you look at, there's also the positive side of like
Tinder.
horror of horror stuff too. Like we had Lisa Loring on our show from the Addams Family, and she had pointed out that how that show is actually looked at as like a very positive example of a family and a marriage. They were crazy, morbid, kooky, bizarre characters, but they actually had a very solid family and
Very passionate.
a very passionate, sexually active marriage with Gomez and Morticia. I mean, they had a very healthy relationship. They had a marriage that worked.
You probably couldn't see a regular sitcom with a quote unquote regular family with a couple acting like that. But
Right,
the Addams
because it was
Family, because they're
fantasy
supposed to be
and-
creepy and kooky.
Yeah.
Oh, they can be nymphos.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Now, I wasn't really the biggest fan, but wouldn't you say the Munsters fall into that same category, Sean?
Sure. To
I
the
can
point
you see
where,
Herman
Less
up there,
Less
Herman up there
passionate.
going ho 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 ho,
but the whole
I didn't get passion at all from them.
Yeah.
no, but the idea that you had interbreeding monsters, as a successful family and marriage is kind of interesting. You know, I mean, they were
What do
like,
those sperm look like?
right.
Green and
Stitches.
Well, maybe a relationship that is not quite so healthy. How about Bride of Chucky from 1998? You have an evil doll
right.
that
That was
although-
the comedy sequel, right? Once
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
number-
when they really
number-
made the turn.
That was number
Yeah.
4.
4, yeah.
But really, it was kind of a healthy relationship because they loved killing together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what, kind of like the honeymoon killers. I mean, that bonded them.
Yes,
you know?
and I don't think that they were ignorant of each other's nature. I think
No,
both
they
of them
reveled
knew that
in
they were
their-
both ready to be destructive even towards each other.
Right.
and this is with Jennifer Tilly, who
As
looks
Tiffany.
She is so stunning in the movie, and then has this
great.
tragic death.
Right.
And
That's a fun one.
And then when the doll comes around, it's just darn right creepy.
Yeah, yeah. that's fun.
But you have Chucky and his bride go tearing it up. I
Yep,
guess.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about macabre marriages without bringing up the very first union, Adam and Eve, who
True.
What?
I like this.
Yeah, I like
Satan,
that. Yeah.
Satan shows up.
Satan and-
Suddenly
yeah.
you got manipulation, you got
That's
coercion.
true.
right.
Seduce
There's a
by evil.
snake. There's a monster in the
Yeah.
tree.
That's true.
Arranged marriage.
That's
That
true.
too.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, you bring up a good point. You're saying Adam and Eve, it was an arranged marriage.
Oh yeah. Well,
Kind of. Yeah.
who else was hanging around? Unless you wanted, unless you were into knot holes or.
So a lot of people think, oh, they were these both attractive looking people. I don't know.
Who knows if they were?
Who knows? But
You're
I,
attractive if you're the only game in
Right.
town.
I do think it's bad that we jump on the snake. Snakes.
Defending Satan again.
What
Is it, Larry? Why do you defend Satan?
I think it's a serpent. I don't really think they call it a snake, really. So a serpent, it could look similar to a snake.
Well, and how did the snake really tempt them?
It's a phallic metaphor, any way you look at
I'll
it.
say.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Know-it-all over there.
Mr. Know-it.
Dr. Freud.
Well, the snake did tempt Eve, not Adam.
But how
so-
how they could not have been tempted? This is my view. Because in the story, they eat an apple from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right?
Yeah.
Which means that they had no concept of good and evil before that. Which means the idea of being tempted, the idea of being bad or doing
were
something
duped.
wrong, they had no idea of what that even was.
They're
Wait,
complete innocence.
are you suggesting there's a logic flaw in the Bible?
We're going to get letters.
Maybe we should save that for a
Our
different
religious episode?
yes,
Bible
yes.
episode?
No, because there's some really cool
I'm
stuff
defending the snake!
I thought when you said you were going to say the first movie, I thought you were going to say the Bride of Frankenstein.
That's what I thought
Yeah,
too, yeah.
sure.
But
Because
that's good, though.
it's
I liked where you
yeah.
went with
Well,
this.
Yeah,
There's-
surprise ending.
There's a lot to the Bride of Frankenstein.
But
too.
technically, it's not a marriage.
Oh,
yet.
okay, yeah. I knew you were going to bring this up,
well,
Sean.
Why are you mad at Sean?
I'm mad at him because I knew I wrote
Because
it
you
down
have to be mad.
No,
You-
it has
you're
nothing to do
ready-
with me.
You were ready to be mad
De-escalate.
at me.
Tell me about your collection.
De-escalation.
Okay,
De-escalation.
What's the issue here?
I really like your shirt. The way you have your shirt on. You look really good.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not good at this.
No, I'm telling you, you are right.
Okay.
They do not get. They're not married.
Right.
Well, it's because she is a total bitch.
But this is what I want to ask. This
she's
is-
ungrateful
Hey,
for the
okay.
life that they
Oh,
gave
listen,
to her.
listen.
Because he didn't make eye contact.
No.
He didn't listen to her.
You are jumping all around here.
He
and
was
I'm
he
gonna-
was too rough.
Look,
he was
yeah.
way too
No,
rough.
He has no game.
No, see,
No
I'm
game.
going to set you.
Whatsoever.
Okay, you've done a lot of research. Okay, I get it. Okay, but let me straighten you out here. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, first of all, the Frankenstein monster is not rough. He's actually very gentle, and when he sits down, he takes her hand gently and tries to pat it.
That's true.
Her
He's
problem
little
is
touchy, little
is
touchy.
no, it's very
Little
nice.
handsy.
Her problem is her first vision is actually of Colin Clive, the attractive Colin Clive, Dr. Frankenstein, and then this horrific monster
So she's
comes.
shallow. She just like
Yes, yes,
pretty attractive
exactly.
men.
But this
Attractive
is-
guys with a
Doctor.
career.
But this is what I wanted to ask Roger.
doctor.
This is because I wrote it down because I said yes. Okay, so let's say they're not married in the movie, but let's say just for argument's sakes here, let's say that Dr. Pretorius and Dr. Henry Frankenstein, they go, you know what, let's try to work this out, okay? Let's try to, and so they work on her over time and say, look, when Frankenstein monster gets upset, she hates me. No, she doesn't know you. Let's work on some things. Don't you think if they worked on it together, perhaps maybe in a year or so, maybe they could fall in love? Because it's like, look, you made of body parts like me. We're very similar, and he brought her flowers and
That's a good start. Bringing flowers
and say your hair looks great. And then Dr. Frankenstein would always say, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, oh, will you please? You're just so disgusting today, and you smell. Can you just go in your room? And she'd get all upset. And then the Frankenstein monster would say, oh, don't listen, Dr. Frankenstein. He bad man. I take care of you. I kill him for you, or something like that. I mean, don't you?
The worst opening line with the lady is, "We belong dead."
Right.
See, I would argue that the problematic marriage in Bride of Frankenstein is with Dr. Frankenstein and his wife.
Right.
Because he's not...
Yes.
Talk
I
about
agree.
neglecting.
He's not interested
his-
in procreating with her.
No.
He's interested in procreating with Pretorius.
Yeah, he's married to his work, and he's married to. Yeah.
Wait. When you say procreating with Pretorius,
I'm saying
Yeah, no, you're right.
creating life without the wife, basically.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
well, okay, and I understand.
And what's going on there?
Well, no. There's nothing fishy about it. It's like, look, he is creating organic life, and I understand. You get all excited about it. I mean, you're
Bring your wife in.
well,
Honey, you'll never guess what I made.
and
Check this out.
James. I see your point, and it's funny you should say that because I remember thinking about this in the first film. I did think about this, that he was so obsessed, and I get it. We as guys, we get into whatever it is that you feel.
toy collecting,
whether it's
or-
okay, let's say it's football, okay, or let's say it's hockey, or like toy collecting, or getting that minted package thing and going on a search for it, and
Creating life. From
yeah,
nothing.
exactly. But it's like we get into these things, and sometimes you forget about your significant other because you're so obsessed with this passionate thing that you're into.
10 minutes a night.
Man can get
10
self-absorbed.
minutes a night.
So if Dr. Frankenstein were to come home and say, "Oh boy, what a day! Honey, how was your day?"
But he didn't. But that wasn't the time. Back in those days, it was more like what you were describing, where her job is just to keep things clean.
Property.
Yeah.
And even in the 50s films where you always had the obsessed scientist who just keeps the wife out of his hair and doesn't tell her what's going on. Right. It's like, honey, neglecting the wife and just like totally absorbed in your work. Don't worry, as soon as this one experiment is done, we can just go away and spend time together.
Do you know how much trouble I would be in if I didn't tell my wife ahead of time that I was going to create life in my lab?
Right.
Larry, let me see if I can try to answer your question with a question.
Okay.
When you fell in love with your wife,
Yes.
did you choose to fall in love with her?
Oh, it was instant. I mean, it was like, wow. It was.
So it wasn't a choice that you made.
It was like
It's something that happened
Yeah.
externally or outside of your control.
I remember when she walked in the door of the Denny's, and I saw her from across the room, and I said, "Wow, boy, that gal's really amazing eyes." I mean, I instantly, and well, it's a long story, but yes,
That's the problem with blind dates. In general, you can't choose who you're going to like or be attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
Your body is going to decide for you based on certain chemical and pheromonal signals.
And pretty quickly too, right? I
Yes.
mean, it's like you're going to know right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So falling in love with somebody can happen over time, but you still would have to be chemically a match at some point to begin with. And so Frankenstein's monster and the Bride of Frankenstein, if they weren't a match, if it was a bad
at the beginning.
blind date,
Right.
there's no bringing them around.
No. That's it.
That's true.
Yeah.
It was kind
And
of a forced
You got
arranged.
a problem, which means you have a story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But also,
tragedy.
But it's also interesting that the Frankenstein monster, the monster demands a mate. Make me a woman. Like he wanted a woman,
But he gets
and it
sort
kind
of-
of backfires, and obviously backfires on him. Like,
Doesn't Pretorius bring up the idea?
because
the idea
the
of-
Frankenstein
Yeah,
monster
monster
says,
doesn't
"Are you?"
even
He
demand it.
says,
Pretorius says,
well,
like,
that was in
he
the
said,
poster.
making a friend for you.
No, Frankenstein says, "You make man like me," and Pretorius goes, "No,
Woman."
and the Frankenstein monster goes, "Woman, friend.
Right.
Yeah. Never thought of
True.
that.
Yeah, Pretorius does put it in his mind. That's true. But then he becomes kind of obsessed with it, and it's like, "Man, where's the woman? I want her right now."
At that point, and it depends when you get the Frankenstein monster. At this point, he's speaking.
Yeah.
He's seen the world a little bit. But if you get him pretty early in his creation, and you go, "We're making a mate for you," and you get like a goat, and you put a blonde wig on it, and some garter belts.
Would he care?
No,
And you go, look.
no. That
does he know?
No. See, okay, you're being ridiculous.
Like Gene Wilder and the sheep from
Exactly.
everything you want to know
Exactly.
about sex.
Okay.
I'm just saying,
No.
they could make it work.
No.
Especially if the pheromones are right.
Look, he's a monster. He's not an idiot. Okay, I mean, he would look at one goat. He'd say,
Look.
"That goat."
There are people in our history who have done things to farm animals because
True.
they had no other choice
That's true.
Well,
in their minds.
I do like what some of the parodies did later on, like Mad Monster Party, where he's married to Phyllis Diller, and Young Frankenstein, where Madeline Kahn has the hair. And,
Right.
Yeah, it's cute.
If we're going to talk about Bride of Frankenstein, we should mention Bride of the Monster.
Oh yeah. Oh
wow.
yeah. Ed Wood.
1955, Ed Wood's
Ed Wood.
highest
Bela Lugosi.
budgeted film.
Right.
The budget was $70,000.
Wow.
That was the pinnacle
That's a lot of money for him. Yeah.
of his financial budgets, starring Bela Lugosi and Tor Johnson, his favorites.
So good. I love Tor Johnson. That guy could wrestle. Did you ever see him on You Bet Your Life with
No,
Groucho?
no.
Oh, you got to look that one up. That's great.
Does he have a personality that befits his look?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he's Tor. He's Tor to the core.
This is it's not. I'm wanted to bring up this one particular macabre marriage. It's not necessarily a macabre marriage exactly, but what happens in this marriage is rather macabre, and I'm talking about from the TV series The Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
And look,
Many marriages in that show.
Yes,
I think I know what you're getting at.
There's one in particular which, yes, we've seen. There's a bunch of marriages that are kind of nasty or don't really work out, and it's such a great show. But there's one particular episode that when my wife and I watched it, we were just floored. We had no idea where this is going, and this is actually from season 3. It's the 9th and final episode of the season, and the episode is actually called "The Reigns of Castamere," which is actually the name of a song in this medieval times, but it's also known as the Red Wedding.
Yeah.
And it's a really, it's such a tragic scene, but let's just say for the sake of argument, without going, there's so many characters. There's this one king or young king who wants to try to bring another kingdom together with him so they can battle another king, okay? So they
All
make
of Game of Thrones.
Yes, and they make an arrangement. The older king says, "Well, look, I will join you if you marry my daughter." And the younger king says, then the mother tries to influence him and goes, "All right, fine, I'll do it. Just to bring our two kingdoms together." Well, on the way, he falls in love with this other woman. And he says, "Oh, man, I found the woman I love. I'm going to marry her." And he marries her, and she gets pregnant. And, of course, now they're on their way to the other kingdom, and they have to tell the old king, "Look, I'm sorry. I know I promised that I'd marry your daughter, but look, things happen, and look, but we can still get together." And the old king says, "Okay, no problem. I'm going to marry my daughter off to someone else." So they invite the young king and his mother and all his band into the castle.
And his pregnant wife.
Yes, and his pregnant wife, and they're all having the party. They're all having a good time and everything. And the old king's up there by his table, and he has a young wife of his own, And what happens is this couple gets married, and then they're taken out of the room to do the bed ceremony. Well, what is this? Well, they need to consummate their love. Oh, everything's great. So they're off, and they close the big doors in this giant hall. And there you have, the young king with his new pregnant young bride and the mother and stuff. And then all of a sudden, this music is being played. And it's The Reigns of Castamere, which is kind of a warning type of song. Mm-hmm. And then the mother of the young king looks around and she realizes, well, they're playing this warning thing. What is going on? And all of a sudden, these knights come around and they take bows and arrows and they start firing at the young king. Someone comes up to his young bride who's pregnant, stabs her in the stomach, killing the baby, like stabbing her like multiple times. Basically, the whole area, get all these people there getting wiped out, and it's incredibly violent.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not saying.
Mr. Spoiler Alert, who tells everyone don't tell the ending, and you give away the red wedding.
Well, I think probably most people listening to this have seen.
If they haven't,
everybody's heard of this by
Yeah.
now.
if they haven't seen it by now,
It's
they
their own
won't.
It's your fault.
It's your own
Yeah,
fault. They
yeah.
probably won't see it anyway. They've only heard about it, and now they'll know what it's all about.
But also, talk about arranged weddings and the whole idea of like a status quo and what you should do within circles of society and what you're expected to do. You know, to not go by those rules can just result in catastrophic results.
Follow your heart, and what happens?
Yeah.
You get punished.
There you go.
Yeah. it's
Every wedding, every marriage in Game of Thrones is arranged to bring kingdoms and houses together.
That's how they did it.
That's
some
what.
of
That's
them
what. Yeah, I mean,
make for
it's-
really strange unions.
Yeah. No, it's truly shocking, and it's like, especially because
The best part of that season, actually, which I thought was a real talky. It's my least favorite season.
Really?
Up until that moment.
Yeah, it was shocking. It again, I think Matt, you've said how that show's often about like bad things happening to good people,
All
just
over
like
the place.
life, it's
And
like-
bad people.
Yeah,
Bad things just happening.
But that's definitely a macabre marriage.
I'm sorry. I should have said spoiler alert to the beginning.
I'm
No,
just
that-
teasing
no,
you.
that's right, yeah.
I'm just teasing you,
Well,
Larry.
Isn't
Your
every
eyes sparkle
single
when you are mad.
isn't every single vampire movie essentially a bad relationship movie?
Yeah, like a courting kind of relationship. Yeah. I mean,
Except Blackula.
Yeah, she kind of likes him,
Yeah,
right? It's not. It's less of a coercion, right?
well, it's he's revived in modern day, being the 70s, and he finds a woman who is pretty much the reincarnation of his wife back.
just always shaky ground for
in
me when that's
times.
like, oh, she's
Yeah.
the reincarnation.
But
yeah, that's
what makes
it is.
I think what makes it the difference is the ending of that movie. It's,
Which
it's still one of the most unique. Well,
Okay, let's not give this away. Let's
So they get married, and everyone is murdered.
It's one of the most. But I won't say what it is, but it is one of the more unique.
We're not giving
ways
away
to
Blackula.
Go out and see
I
Blackula.
want people.
Alternative universe here. Don't give away the end of Blackula.
I want. Look,
They made Scream Blackula scream. We know that he survives.
Look, I just want to say that Game of Thrones, it's really big, and there are millions and millions of people who have seen it. And
Yeah.
I think more people have seen Game of Thrones than Blackula.
More people
so
have
I
seen
would
Blackula.
like people to see Blackula because it is a film.
It's an ultimately kind of poignant and unique ending.
Yes,
I love the Blackula
Yeah,
films. I think they're way better than anyone gives them credit
Yeah.
for.
it's good.
yes, I would agree, sir.
And you're right. Dracula, that's a strange scenario, too, because as we've come to know the character of Dracula, it seems like he's always looking for this perfect mate. And he's been around for centuries, but he's always looking for this perfect mate. And he has his 3 little vampire brides, but you could tell it's like, yeah, he likes them okay. He likes having them around. They don't clean or anything, but he's got other people for that. But he's always looking for, with Mina, he sees this person that, it's like the true love, the
Right.
dead soulmate, But the minute you turn someone into a vampire and you're eliminating their free will, that's not so fun.
Well, here's what I want to say about that. I mean, Roger brings up a really good point. Okay, so let's say Dracula falls in love with this woman. Oh, I'm going to make her into a vampire just like me, okay? So she can be with me for eternity. Well, after like 5 years, the romantic stuff goes away, and you're a vampire.
Still a vampire.
Yeah, you're a vampire, so you're going to live forever. I mean, when do you get to a certain point where she's going to say, did you do the laundry? Did you pick that up? Oh, there she goes again. I mean, isn't he going to have issues like 50, 70,
good point.
150 years from now?
Or just going through each companion as they get old. Like The Hunger is a good example.
Yeah,
of
right.
that.
There's and there's a movie called it's a Jim Jarmusch film called Only Lovers Left Alive, which is
I've heard of it. I've not seen that.
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of a slow burn, but it's a little snapshot of these vampires that have been around for centuries, and it's a married couple, but over the centuries, the guy has gotten bored with life. He's always on the edge of committing suicide. He's got this gun that has a wooden bullet in it, like ready to go.
Wow.
And his wife, I believe, is Tilda Swinton, and she comes looking for him. and tries to, like, hey, let's go back to the old days. We've been given the greatest gift. We can live forever. Isn't that fun? And he tries to kind of enjoy life again. But, he's just world weary. They're still married, but yet he's been living for a century in the United States while she's been in Tangier. And, I think there are some
right?
telltale signs that maybe the relationship is kind of in trouble.
Right.
My favorite is probably The Hunger. My favorite vampire film of all time
Really?
is The Hunger.
Oh.
From an editorial standpoint,
Okay.
I like Tony Scott's first film, and the way he plays with time, fractured time in the prologue, the beginning of the film is just spectacular.
Yeah. Bela Lugosi's dead. That Bauhaus
Flash forwards,
song.
flash backwards, back to where we are, and you don't know where you are and what's going on.
And that David Bowie waiting in the waiting room.
Oh.
it's slowly growing
I
older
have
and
to see
older.
that again. I haven't seen that in ages.
It's
It's
cool.
so
It's I mean, it's a
cool.
movie. It's a vampire movie where they never say the word vampire. It's not, it's like
I like that, though.
But it's cool. Yeah, I do like.
Do you know who wrote it?
Go.
Whitley Strieber,
Oh, yeah,
my.
that's right. Yeah.
who I interviewed in 6 Days in Roswell.
Communion.
And this was his story.
He seems like a down-to-earth regular guy. Feet firmly on the ground.
But it's,
Although one of my favorite movies is Communion.
Yeah.
For all the wrong reasons.
I
Yeah.
love that movie. It is the ultimate Christopher Walken film, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he should do that live.
Yeah, really.
but I want to react to what you said, Larry.
Yes.
In that a vampire doesn't get prior consent before enforcing this
True.
affliction onto somebody.
Right.
And so it's a metaphor for sexually transmitted diseases or any disease that's communicable. And or any kind of negativity that you're forcing onto somebody. It's
Right.
similar, I think, to, in some ways, I'll make a comparison to A Star is Born, where he forces his affliction onto her
Right.
without getting her advance consent.
Are we talking about the latest one with Lady Gaga?
Yeah. Now, she wants to be a star and she
Yeah.
likes to sing.
Yeah.
But he forces her many times in the movie. He forces himself on her. He, smushes food in her face.
Well,
and
he was been drinking,
and so it's an attitude. It's a male attitude that the vampire embodies in forcing something onto a woman without her consent.
And it turns out usually doubly tragic because before he's killed by the protagonist, the bride or brides are usually killed first.
Yeah.
But that's what's so strange about Dracula, the character of Dracula, or, this type of vampire, wanting this relationship. They always seem like they want this relationship with this person, and this is going to be their ultimate vampire bride. But there's no way that it can ultimately be satisfying because, as you said, it's non-consensual.
Yeah.
So you didn't really win anything. I mean, in your documentary, you talk about that one of the things that helps with passion is obstacles. And that
Right.
keeps things fun and interesting. And
The formula is passion equals an object of passion with an obstacle in between you and your object. And so when you withdraw the obstacle and you get what you want, then it's no different than if you've eaten food and your hunger is gone. The passion goes away. The passion is the motivating factor to close distance so you reproduce.
Yeah. You would think with all these hundreds of years of wisdom that he wouldn't go, hey, maybe it's me.
Yeah, he's had a long time to learn about himself. And vampires don't seem to learn much.
No.
Yeah,
That's,
or they're
that's what I hate
delusional.
about vampires.
They need some introspection,
Yeah.
some self-awareness.
Yeah. Take that stake out of your heart and look inward, right? Look in that hole.
Yeah, you mentioned the word hole, right? We all
I did. I did at that.
It's about filling a hole,
Yes.
right? Metaphorically and metaphysically,
right.
Everybody you're born with this yearning for something to complete yourself. And that's what a bride or a husband is, you think, is going to complete you. Yeah. But you have to bring yourself to a relationship already complete. No one can make you happy. You have to already be happy.
Or confident or believe in yourself.
Well,
before
right. And the fact that you're looking for it outside of yourself is always a giant
That means you're
sign.
you're an empty vessel,
Yeah.
right? You have to be someone that's already interesting and doing interesting things and living an amazing life, man or woman, because that makes you attractive.
Right.
The least attractive thing is desperation, emptiness, nothing to contribute.
Well, but a vampire by nature is a parasite. So from the get-go, forget about it.
Yeah, they are empty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They're all,
Oh wow!
right.
All right, keep
Wow.
that in mind.
We got to write this paper. Shall we do one more kind of round?
Well, I was going to say, I think we
couple
learned we've learned quite a lot today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lightning round?
Sure.
Yeah,
Right
let's
after you.
throw out a couple more. I'd like to share one just right off the
Please.
bat here.
Yeah.
That was so sarcastic. One of the most horrifying marriages that I can think of when it comes to horror film history has to come from the movie The Stepfather.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah,
talking
that's a good
about
one.
the original one from the 80s with Carrie O'Quinn. And, this basic storyline is this guy is a psychopath. He will get himself involved or married into a family. And the minute that family disappoints him, he kills them. And then winds up in another family. So in the beginning of the movie, you see the aftermath of him wiping out his previous family and cut to, boom, in a new family, married. There's a daughter, teenage daughter. And was it Shelley Hack who was the wife?
Yes.
Yeah. And his thing is he comes off like he's just the most wonderful,
Charming.
nice, charming dad and understanding. But, you push him a little too much and you get him mad, or especially if you disappoint him.
Because he's looking for that perfect
He's looking for the perfect
family.
family. And the minute he starts to get disappointed, that's when you see the seams start to burst of this facade that he's created. And Carrie O'Quinn is so great in this
he's
thing.
great.
He's so creepy, and you'll get these moments where he's having some trouble keeping his current persona together, and he'll go down in the basement where he's got this workshop, and he'll just start screaming and wrecking things. And then he'll turn around, and there's the teenage daughter. She saw it all. She's like, "Oh, hi, honey. Sometimes you just got to let off a little steam." And to me, that's
It's like about anger management.
yeah. And we talk about the things that scare us the most. We've talked about I've talked about the death that I'm the most afraid of like being buried alive. That when it comes to a relationship, the idea that you thought this person was one thing, but they're dramatically
Right.
not that.
They've like fooled you.
Yeah, and there's so many of these murder shows on ID Network where
Yeah.
you'll see that same scenario
Sleeping
happen
with the
again and
killer.
again. Yeah,
Right.
they started off, they were great, everything was great.
I mean, in real life, how many times does it happen that two people are fighting over a house and they end up giving half of everything they own to someone whose guts they hate, who they used to love?
Right.
Something happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When I watch these shows, there's always a part of me that goes, I know you're saying that he was great in the beginning, but I'm wondering, were there some telltale hints? Because if I look at my own relationships and I go back, I go, yeah, there were some little signs there that maybe I should have paid attention to. But that's a great movie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Anybody else?
I have a couple I'll throw out. This is just a fun 80s slasher movie called He Knows You're Alone.
Oh, yeah.
And this one was basically a serial killer who was like dumped by his fiance. And so now he stalks newlywed brides. So it's kind of a twisted macabre marriage. A movie that I've talked about before, we've talked about that I really like, and that at its center is a really twisted, fucked up marriage. And that's The Creature Walks Among Us.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Sean.
Jeff Morrow and his cheating wife. You have Jeff Morrow, who is super like jealous and controlling, and his wife who's like sleeping around, and she's just screwed up. And what's great though for the movie is that it's like the creature in the film, first of all, it's getting genetically changed to be adapting to an air-breathing animal, so that's fucking with him already.
Yeah.
But
this whole world has
this
completely
whole world,
changed.
but he becomes like a victim between this fucked up marriage. Jeff Morrow, like the lover of his wife, he like traps and throws into the cage with the creature. So the creature is like this kind of on this pawn stuck between this like horrible marriage where like you have this primal creature who's really the innocent,
Yeah.
and you have these truly evil, disturbed characters, which again I think I said before, which you never saw in the earlier films. They were there. They were like the stalwart heroes and the
Yes.
and Julie Adams, and they're all like perfect. And it's the monster who's bad, but man, Creature Walks Among Us turns it around. It's
Richard
like-
Denning was a little douchey.
Yeah, but not in this way. This is like it's Creature Walks Among Us.
It's
is a
interesting to
great-
see a creature movie where the creature's walking around going, "I'm the most normal one here."
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is, and that's why I like it so much.
It really is
It's a
just
good one.
walking among them.
Yeah,
I'm just walking
Exactly.
among you guys.
that's right. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good one.
Anyone else?
The only one I've left out is my first paid job as a director was for a TV series called Monsters.
I love that show.
that's
That's kind of the offshoot of
You heard
Tales
of
from the
that?
Dark Side.
Yeah. I worked on the
Was that
third
was Laurel,
season.
right?
Laurel Entertainment. Yeah, they hired me because my very first short film which I made to sort of demonstrate my ability as a writer, filmmaker, director, I sent that around, and in that I had a little mutant baby as part of the story.
Nice.
And they saw that and thought, oh, he's the mutant baby guy.
I'd love to be known as that.
They had a script. One of their episodes was about a mutant baby that Julie Brown and Kevin Nealon have a baby.
Nice.
Okay.
And it's this horrible, horrific baby that they think is terrorizing the neighborhood and killing all the animals because it's sneaking out.
Okay.
And they think their baby's to blame. They find out it's actually a slasher played by David Spade.
A young David Spade.
Yeah. What was this? Probably his
Nice.
first acting job.
Yeah.
And it was between him, actually, and Rob
Schneider? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
They both came in to read for the part, and they're both good.
Really?
Okay.
And Spade got it. But anyway, that was my first job in Hollywood as a paid director, and I got paid $1,000 to direct this episode of
Those
television.
shows were done
Wait, that's
really
it?
on the cheap.
Back then, that's
The budgets were
could have been
only
worse.
They were mostly like on one
$150,000.
set, mostly right there, almost like They were fun. There were
Yeah.
some good ones.
They
They
were-
were, they were charming shows. Actually.
Some
And
were
how was-
really creative.
Yeah.
How was the marriage between the?
They loved each other, and they were funny, and they loved their baby.
All right. Well, I think that's really all you need.
Even though the baby looked like, there was either the two-headed sperm or the cone-head sperm got
Well,
in
I got to
there.
design the baby because I
Did
got
you
to direct
really?
it, and all it said
That's-
in the script was that it had a lot of teeth, and,
Yeah.
and so I said I don't want it to be an ugly gargoyle thing that's been done. Make it like a little Schwarzenegger baby.
Yeah.
Like it's overly muscular and has teeth, and it's
That's
just this
cool.
powerful baby.
I've seen it. It's a disturbing looking baby.
I had it for years. I finally gave it away a couple years ago.
Who'd you give it away to?
Some random guy at my garage sale. I was selling everything.
Wow.
Wow.
And-
had we known you, had we had this,
It would be in our
Museum.
this room
Baby
right
here
would
now,
be in a
it would be
place of
right here.
honor.
I think actually it was Larry Bubbles Brown.
you get it back.
Got it.
Larry Bubbles Brown.
Yeah, he
He'll-
and
we'll
Curtis,
never get it away from him.
Larry and Kurt, because buddy Curtis
DeMartini.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I love that guy.
they might have it, but I used to keep it in a little tiny director's folding chair in the attic of my house, which you could
Perfect.
see when you walk up the stairs. There's a little door, and people would open the door, and then it would scare the crap out of everybody.
That's great.
You'd think you'd want to keep it around just for that moment.
Right.
Well, after 20 years, it was just naturally kind of falling apart. because-
Oh, okay, okay.
That-
Like latex or
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
That's
All
cool
right.
though. I
Well,
like
that's
that.
great. Yeah. No, I suggest that everyone look up that Monsters episode.
Yeah.
Good times.
I would also bring up Alfred Hitchcock's Marnie, which is the movie he made right after The Birds.
Oh yeah.
It's a very, very strange, especially when
is a
seen,
strange
movie.
seen by today's perspective, because it's Tippi Hedren is a kleptomaniac, and she starts working for Sean Connery, and he realizes who she is. So he decides to dominate her. He marries her in order to cure her. But he's on some sort of power
So
trip.
he's just playing Sean Connery.
Well, he's playing Alfred Hitchcock, really, because
Okay.
the movie
Right.
is, I mean, it was based on a novel, but now in the context of what we know about Hitchcock and what he was doing to Tippi Hedren back then,
Nice.
it's more interesting seen in the behind-the-scenes context. It's not his worst film. It's far from his best.
Yeah, well, it's
odd.
It's odd and has some not very convincing technical things in the
Yeah.
film,
Yeah.
like the riding the horse or whatever. Like
Right,
it's
it's got
the
bad
rear projection.
Bad rear projection.
Yeah, like bad.
But
like,
some critics have argued that it was on
it's like
purpose and it was like surreal,
maybe.
or
Yeah, I don't know.
impressionistic.
Yeah,
A great,
it's interesting.
great
but-
Bernard Herrmann score, but
yeah,
Yes, it does.
also I would want to just throw out So I Married an Axe Murderer, this Michael Myers comedy, which
I've never seen that, but it's on my list because
years ago, I had roommates who were a married couple, and they loved that movie. And we rented it from like Blockbuster, and we watched it together. And I have to say, I laughed a few times. I mean, it was better than what I heard it
So
was.
like Michael Myers thinks Nancy Travis is like this infamous kind of Black Widow-esque serial killer, right?
Will you spoiler for me and say,
I don't
Everybody
remember.
dies.
don't-
Everybody
no,
dies
that's
at the
not-
end.
I don't remember the ending. And the whole movie gets the laughs from is she or isn't she and
Right,
his
right.
reactions. But I laughed out loud a few times. So maybe if it's like on cable or Netflix or something, check it out.
Okay, well, not in a laughing matter. Going back to Game of Thrones, in season 4, episode 2, there's a young, spoiled, and evil king named Joffrey Baratheon.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets married to this lovely young lady. And all I'm going to say is tragedy happens.
well,
No,
considering where he comes from,
yes,
too.
and you know something? I'm not going to spoil this one because
Okay,
I've already
good.
spoiled another one. But the thing about Game of Thrones is
Don't get married.
No. It's filled with so much tragedy at fun, what should be fun, happy occasions.
Well, Wacky fun
the
times.
marriage of Sansa Stark to Ramsay Bolton.
Oh, I mean, there's another. That's another one, but
Yeah.
the Game of Thrones is such a great series, and it's filled with a lot of just devastating.
Yeah,
Coupling,
it's a
if you will.
cautionary tale. Don't get married. Don't have kids. Don't leave the house.
Don't go right.
just like fucking stay where you are.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
No, we're not saying that,
Yeah.
but I do want to say thank you so much, Roger. This has been great.
Yes.
this has
It
been
has
Awesome.
been
It's
great.
been quite
As
It's an
enlightening.
honor.
always.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. No, we love having you.
So-
And if only you will come back soon. Make another movie or we'll just have you to just talk about your favorite horror movies.
So this film,
Would love
The
it.
Truth About Marriage, is a documentary, and hopefully people are going to be able to see it.
TheTruthAboutMarriage.com is your one-stop place to go to find out everything about the film,
Cool.
when and where it will be available. I also have put together my own video site if you want to get the nature of existence, and I'm going to put all my films there. If you go to Vimeo,
cool.
Vimeo.com, Blink Movies, just look up Vimeo.com/Blink Movies. That's my page, and I'm going to
Cool.
put all my films there, including when I finish restoring 6 Days in Roswell and Suckers. I'll put those up there.
Nice.
Those are going to be re-released
Well, you
in
have the
high
extras.
def. Yeah, you can. And actually, you can put all the extras on the Vimeo page. So when you buy the movie for download or streaming, you can get all the extras as well.
I love the extras in Suckers. I learned so much about buying a car.
I'm keeping both. There were 2 commentary tracks that went along with that film,
Yeah.
where
Nice.
the filmmakers and the actors, because everybody had so much to say and to argue about.
Perfect. Yeah.
Now, I do want to ask one question, just one question here. So I love your film, Trekkies 2. I love them both. But when we last had you on the show, you had said, I feel like it needs to have its third, the trilogy, because since you did Trekkies 2, so much has happened
Yes.
in the whole
Digital age,
Trek
social
universe.
media, right?
Is there any chance that might happen?
Of course, definitely a chance. Yeah. Either we
Are you
will-
and Denise Crosby on good terms?
Oh, Denise Crosby and I have been scheming about this for quite some time.
You know, we love her.
Yeah, have her back again.
Oh my God,
yeah.
we would
Yeah.
do that. And she said she would come back. It seemed like she had a really good time.
She had a great time,
Yeah.
and it'd be kind of cool is if you were here with a camera and you filmed her, talking to 4 fun guys of Monster Party.
Do you like Star Trek?
I love Star Trek.
I'm not familiar.
Ask
Are you-
James.
ask
He's
James.
crazy about it. Yes, no, we love it.
Huge
Yeah,
Trek
I
fans.
dabble.
We have ideas. We've
Cool,
been
cool.
brainstorming. We
Okay.
have a concept,
But I have issues with the new Star Trek. But we'll save
that's
that
what
for
we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh,
a number
oh, yeah,
3.
we're
But
ready
we'll
to go.
save that for another time.
Yes.
All right.
Is there anything else you might be working on though that we can look forward to?
Well, you can watch for the final season of Veep, which I'm editing right now.
Oh, love
season
that show.
7. It's the ending. The wrap up is great. It's so funny.
One of the best comedies of all time.
It's
Honestly.
the most jokes per minute, probably.
Oh my God.
Or at least, certainly the most words per minute.
Yeah.
Of any TV
Some of
show.
the most brilliant insults in any comedy show.
I'll tell you a little bit of behind the scenes and where the insults come from.
Okay.
When there's a scene coming up where someone has to be insulted, and it's usually Jonah, but everybody's game for it. Everybody
Yeah.
gets insulted. The showrunner, Dave Mandel, tells his writing staff, which is many people, tonight everyone comes in tomorrow with 15 to 20 insults. So then he's got 70 or 80 insults to pick through his favorite 2 or 3 or 5, and they try them all, try them out. Right. And then I get the footage. I'm editing the episodes, and so then I pick my favorite, and you have to watch the one that I like the most.
Is that right? Wow.
Nice.
As long as Dave concurs.
Right. That's awesome.
I'm assuming he concurs every time.
Often. Most of the time, yeah. Actually, I'd say I got a pretty high percentage.
Wow.
But I know what he likes,
You get
too.
his,
Right.
Yeah.
his taste.
Yeah, so then I'm going to switch over when I finish work on that and segue to working on season 10 of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
We're doing another season?
Yeah.
Yes,
Awesome.
that's in the works right now. And in between all those, I'm going to film festivals with The Truth About Marriage through the late in the year until The Truth About Marriage gets released commercially, probably at the end of the year.
Terrific.
Cool.
Fantastic. Well, it's no insult. We were just thrilled to have you. I've learned a great deal about marriage. I'd like to toast to Roger Nygaard.
we'll toast to Roger
Thank you so
Nygaard.
much for being here. To marriage.
Marriage and sperm.
They're inextricably linked.
Time for listener shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out.
This goes out to longtime listener Tobias Sternstam from Australia.
Hey.
We might have given Tobias a shout out before, but it's time
like
for
him.
another shout
Yes.
out. Tobias says, "Hey, my fellow nerd monsters. Finally, you're on Spotify."
Hey, that's right. We're hip.
We're hip with the kids.
So now,
We're on vinyl.
finally, you're on Spotify. So now I can link your episodes directly to my Nordic friends.
Cool.
Because I want people to listen to 4 nerdy and knowledgeable guys that know their shit.
That's us.
Hey, remember those episodes where you put your own questions and you pick them? I think he's talking about Topic Free for All.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah.
It would be awesome if fans of your podcast sent their own nerd questions and stuff.
That's a great idea.
Would also be
I love that idea.
Would also be
Yeah.
a great ending for your episodes if you end with questions from fans. Anyway, I always love you guys.
Nice suggestion.
And always will.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Tobias.
you,
We love
Tobias.
you too, man.
We love you too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll give that some thought.
What's your problem with that?
No,
Is it because it adds the element of surprise?
No, I don't
You
mind
can't work
surprises.
out every answer.
I can work.
Don't you? All you have to do is just say, "Oh, Mister," and then go, and then we got a full episode.
Yeah, there we go.
By the way, your shirt looks great.
Thank you, Larry.
And a special shout out to our friends and previous guests who've just been nominated for the Rondo Awards, including David Weiner, who's been nominated for his blog It Came From. Congratulations, David.
Hey, he deserves it.
Also, big congratulations to Constantine Nazar and David J. Scow, who've just been nominated for their commentary for the Shout Factory Blu-ray Straight Jacket.
Nice.
Great job, guys.
Two lovely
Love that
guys.
movie too.
Also, for their commentary for the Blu-ray The Killing Kind from Vinegar Syndrome, David Delval and David Dakota.
Hey!
And last but not least, for their podcast Damn Dirty Geeks, previous guests Frank Dietz and Frank Woodward.
Hey, great job, guys.
Is this their second one, I think? Or they were nominated before.
They've been nominated at least once before.
Wow, well, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
congratulations, guys.
And what do we get?
Well, you know,
Best coasters.
It's coming.
It is. We're on the
on.
map.
We
We're on
have
the
to be, yeah.
We're on the radar.
I like to think we're like the Pat Paulson of horror podcasts. Because we can be written in.
Nice Pat Paulson reference.
Anything to please the kids.
Right.
Let's also remind our listeners.
I went out with his daughter. I didn't really go out with her, but I
Pat
hung
Paulson's
out with her for
daughter?
a while. Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. She was nice.
Did she resemble him?
No.
Okay.
Luckily.
Let's also remind our listeners that you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV. Our Twitter handle at Monster Party HQ. Instagram is also Monster Party HQ. If you're listening to us on iTunes, we'd love it if you took a moment and wrote a review. We're also now on Spotify. as our friend Tobias has mentioned.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
very excited about that.
Look out, Norway.
And Monster Party swag is available on our eBay store, which is Monster Party Store. Easy to remember. Reminder that we will also be at the Monsterpalooza convention coming up.
That's right.
April 12th, 13th, and 14th in beautiful Pasadena, California at the convention center. So please, if you're in town or if you want to fly into LA just to see us at the show, please do.
Yeah.
We're going to have our own booth. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I also want to give a shout out to our friends at C Demon Vinyl Toys. Hey!
Vinyl.
That's right. Kevin Smith and his lovely partner, Michelle Olivier, had this fantastic toy company called C Demon Vinyl Toys. Go to their Facebook page, C Demon Vinyl. It'll give you all the information about their latest creepy, grotesque demon toys.
Awesome toys.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
so cool. But checked it out. Also, I want to give a special thanks to our friends at Creature Features. Hey! Now, Creature Features, they're still selling a ton of stuff on eBay. So go to creaturefeatures.com, and there's a little box. It'll take you directly to their store on eBay, and it'll show you all the great things they have. They have DVDs and CDs and books and magazines, autograph stuff. So they have a ton of stuff. Check them out, creaturefeatures.com. And finally, I want to give a special shout out to Time Tunnel Toys. Located at 1583 Meridian Avenue in San Jose, California. And Joan Sharon, they have a spectacular store filled with all kinds of vintage toys and records and comic books. Everything for all your monster needs. They even
I have a lot of them.
Yeah, I know you do. And they also have the Keep America Strong, Watch Horror Films Frame Picture. So go to their website, Time Tunnel Toys. It'll also give you information about their upcoming antique toy shows that happen every 4 months. So check it out, Time Tunnel Toys.
Yeehaw.
And if you enjoyed this episode with Roger NYGARD, check out the previous show that he was on, Unexplained Phenomena, because it was about from a couple of years ago. He was a fantastic guest on that. Really,
great one.
Yeah, really
favorite.
informed about paranormal stuff,
Bigfoot.
He knows his stuff.
Cryptozoology.
Yeah.
and definitely worth checking out that episode if you haven't.
Cool.
And if I could just add something here. You know, this episode was about marriage. And it's interesting because we recorded this episode on my wedding anniversary.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, my wife is hard at work, out of town. And
Bringing in the money.
Bringing in the money. We have, we're going to have our own special time where we celebrate. But it gives me a lovely opportunity to say, I love you, honey.
Oh.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to you guys.
Don't all jump in.
Well, no. If I could say no. This is what I've been working. No. See, that's not fair. That is not fair because I've been trying. There were times when you guys, if he says happy, they go happy anniversary, and they go, oh, there he goes, he's jumping. I've been trying to let things go, let people say
just
stuff
enjoying
without
the
having
moment.
to jump in.
Of course,
it's
happy
like,
anniversary.
oh, Larry feels he has to say something.
Can I can
James
actually
said this.
put this on the podcast, right? Because this is funny.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what James said was very nice.
It was
and I
very
didn't think
nice.
it was necessary for me. I thought you would think that this is a Larry with a new leaf.
I was internalizing my congratulations. to
No,
you,
I
too.
don't know what his
I don't
issue
know.
was.
It's hard to.
No, I was
convey
right
over the microphone, but Sean, through body language,
Yes.
he does almost an
wishing you
interpretive
both a happy-
dance.
I was listening
That
to
says,
James and the way he
these
said
kids are gonna
happy
make
an-
it.
and I felt like it's unnecessary for me to go happy anniversary because he said it so nicely and
I'm just so
and,
used to you being so
blabbing.
enthusiastic.
This is the new leaf. I am enthusiastic.
So just nothing.
Oh, happy anniversary. Are you happy?
You hear that, honey?
Yeah, to Matt Carey, happy anniversary. I hope you're happy. Jesus.
If only there was a card that could convey what you did just now.
And Carrie, I think you look great in that shirt.
She does. She does look good in the shirts. On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
And if you find yourself in the middle of a macabre marriage, beware the spiky sperm.
I wrote down something I realized, well, it doesn't really fall into macabre marriage, but in a way, it's the marriage we never saw, but I always wanted to see, and that was between Han Solo and Princess Leia. In The Force Awakens, they've been apart for years.
Yeah.
What happened? And I had this vision of, I think what happened is the love was there, the passion was there, but what happened was, in my opinion, Princess Leia, you now are become like Queen Leia, General Leia, and now she has this responsibility to take care of her people, or to kind of run a country, and I think he's
also,
like
he can't get away from his old ways too. I think he just went back. He went back to smuggling.
He's got to get dirty to feel clean again.
Yeah.
So I had them on the list, but I felt
And didn't you were talking about the Phantom of the Paradise?
Oh yeah, Phoenix and Swan, where Swan's going to kill Phoenix at the altar. The groom is plotting
That's
to
true.
kill the bride on the
true.
altar.
A different kind of red wedding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not consummated, but it comes close. And there is blood.
Yeah, and I would have loved tickets
Oh,
to that wedding, huh?
I would have wanted tickets
Like
to
a concert
to the beef,
wedding.
to the beef
Yeah.
show.
Oh my God.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Once again, I'm surprised that that's not a musical, like
I know.
a touring
Yeah,
musical.
I know.
You're right.
It seems
It's
like
perfect.
right now too that it would be a good time for it.
Yeah.
Did you
It's
ever
got
see?
the kitsch of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Tommy?
Yeah. Oh, I love
yeah.
Tommy.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
Oh,
I saw it in San Francisco, and it blew my mind. And I mean, I didn't even know many of the songs, but my wife and I, when we saw it, it was like the greatest thing we'd ever
I
seen.
love Ken Russell, even when his movies are terrible, and there are some terrible ones.
But
There's always an interesting
different.
element
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
Crimes of Passion.
Yeah. Right. But and that's kind of tough to watch.
Yeah.
But
Lair of the
still,
White Worm.
that
Yeah.
I
I
love.
thought
I love
that
that
was
movie.
kind of neat.
That's a genuinely good movie.
Yeah, I love
though.
them.
Yeah, I love
The
that
young
one a lot.
Peter Capaldi is in that.
Yes, yeah.
Amanda Donoghue.
Well,
Oh,
and
God,
Altered
yes.
States. I mean,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
kind of
Fantastic.
like his masterpiece.
Chayefsky.
Yep.
How did you get the possum to get out of here? Did
Yeah.
it try to bite you? Like, what did
And,
you
and
do?
I'm sorry, was he in that back area?
He's in the mudroom,
like,
in between
did he
the
try to run
kitchen
away?
and the. Did you?
I saw the
No.
picture.
Okay.
Like, how did he?
He was.
So I go out
kitchen.
and I look and I'm doing something and I had this bag, this like canvas bag filled with all these old curtains that I was going to throw them away. And I'm going through something and I see a little face. And originally I think that it's blue
Yeah.
because it's the same kind of
Yes.
coloring.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, blue found a little place to
Yeah.
hole up in. And I go over there and then I see that snout.
Yes.
And the mouth is open like this. And I'm like, what the fuck? What do I do? And I don't want to put my hand in because I don't know that much about possums,
We have them in our backyard all the time.
which
Yeah,
is
they're-
fine. And then, Gina said that thing about like they're not really known for rabies. But
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
moment,
Of course,
I'm not
you
thinking,
see it.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know what the fuck this thing has.
Yeah, yeah.
Or how violent they are.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I mean,
they'll.
they could bite. Yeah, if they were
especially
cornered.
if it, I put my hand near it. I don't know how fast they are.
Hey.
It may have
I
been.
mean, they look kind
weak,
of slow when
too.
they're walking, but who
Yeah.
knows when they're scared? So I'm like, what the fuck do I do? So at first I take a little. At first I thought it was dead. I had completely blanked out of my mind that possums play
they
possum.
do that. Yeah.
And so I thought it was dead, and I kind of pushed a little bit, and then I see it kind of like, okay, all right. And I open those double doors.
Yes.
And I've got this painting tool that's like an extendo
Yes.
kind of thing for a roller.
Yes.
And I've got this thing as far away from this possum as I can.
Sure.
And I take that pole and I just kind of knock the bag over.
Right.
And it falls over. And then it's still, you could see it's like kind of upset that it's been disturbed.
Yeah.
But it's not leaving yet.
Yeah.
So I push the bag a couple more times. And finally it just gets up and walks out.
Oh, he walked out.
Walks out. And then he's in the corner. I could still see that he's dazed.
Right.
Yeah. No, I feel bad for them because they get.
I don't know how he got in there, though.
I was going to ask, how did he get in?
Well, they look for shelter like that. Well, we have that shed in the back our backyard.
Yeah.
Our shed is up against our neighbor's concrete wall. There's like a family living in between our outside
Oh.
Whole
our
family of
shed.
them,
I just know there is because we see little ones crawling around all the time. One time, one came right up to our back door and looked in, like, whoa! But they're mostly nocturnal.
Yeah.
But they tried to, they get in their houses and they tried in attics. John Platt had one living in his attic. Had to get some guys to take it out.
I felt bad because
they're
I thought it was dead because I had this thing in an enclosed area, so there's nowhere for it to get any food.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they.
And there was a turd, which I'm sure it looked very different from my cat's turds.
Right.
And so this
I think
thing,
that was me.
you're free to shit in our mudroom anytime you like.
Didn't your cats freak out? Did they react?
But that's a good thing. It's a good thing they didn't really get into a fight with it.
Right. Well, they weren't hanging out in that area, and so I wonder if they were not even aware of its existence.
They would have smelled it if they were.
But yeah,
in the
when
same room.
I pushed this thing and it went out, and then it finally went under the little gate and was gone. I was like, oh, thank God. Because for a second, I was like, what do I...
Yeah, no, if
I'm not
it's-
sure how these things react. If they
Yeah.
get aggressive or they'll just leave. But this thing just kind of rolled over. I'm like, okay, I gotta
Yeah,
go.
they-
We had one that actually was injured and crawled under our house and just died.
Oh.
We
Yeah,
found
it-
one in our front yard one time, just dead. It was
Yeah.
a little baby.
No.
Yeah, I know. They're kind of like they're pretty. I mean, I guess like anything they can attack, but they're pretty gentle and they're not normal.
Didn't look like it was
They're
spoiling
not-
for a
they're
fight
not
at
really
all.
Aggressive, normally.
No.
Yeah. We have to do something at the end with sperm.
Oh,
We have to
boy,
say
that's a
something.
tough. That's a
Look
tough
out
one.
for the sperm. Something.
And look out for the two-headed sperm. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Sperm for everyone. Something.
See, that's kind of
Keep
gross.
America strong.
And spread your sperm.
No, because,
Don't get in a macabre marriage.
Yes.
Or,
Beware.
and if you find yourself in the middle of a macabre marriage, watch that spiky sperm.
Shouldn't it be an uplifting thing? Shouldn't it be something you could? Why do you want to go negative? Shouldn't it be something like
Uplifting?
Yeah, like
It's
like
macabre marriages.
I know, but if you find yourself in a macabre marriage, try to
with
find the thing. Yeah, go to therapy, or find that thing that you both enjoy, like murder. Or
If you find yourself in a macabre marriage, just go with it.
okay, yeah,
Ow! I was just like, oh, spiky sperm.
but that's like
Spike sperm
that's
or
like
two-headed sperm?
No,
mutant sperm?
No, because it's suggesting that one of us threw sperm at you.
Maybe you did.
No.
In our radio theater.
No, that's not.
Should I do Foley?
No, that's not cool.
Let me get my sperm Foley out.
Okay, see, that's just not cool. I mean, what does that? What does that say? What does that say? We don't want people thinking that we do creepy stuff like that. You know, we like
If
watching.
people thought that I actually had my own sperm Foley stage, that would be the greatest moment of my life.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't think
It all. Well, it's funny how sperm always sounds like thunder. the big aluminum sheet, you know.
it was interesting about the 10%.
Yeah.
The sperm is that's the only good sperm, and the rest of it is all like battle sperm. I have this vision of them all having like little metal, sheets.
I
and-
see them as the Wasteland Warriors and
yes,
Road Warrior.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, totally.
The
Like,
humongous sperm.
it's like you know what? I have no chance.
the egg and walk away.
It's like I have no chance of getting that egg. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna fuck up that other sperm. I'm just gonna fuck them up. I'm gonna take this club, my sperm club, or my spiky head, and drill them. Something like that. I tell you, I learned something tonight.
Yeah. You're not really talking about the sperm now. Are you? This is about something else.
Isn't it always?
True. For all of us, I think.
On that note,
Well, this has been great.
So if
we
you're
can go on and on.
So do you want to do anything about the sperm or no?
I don't. I just suggest it.
You don't
Whatever
like
guys
it? You
wanna
do? What
I have no opinion.
What else?
You have no
do
opinion.
reference?
You
zero
have to have an
opinion.
opinion.
I don't really.
So you don't care.
No, I care. I just don't have an opinion.
How can you not have an opinion?
No, I like if you find yourself in a macabre marriage.
Beware of spiky sperm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
See, you're laughing now.
See?
So
Now
you
kind of
find
like
it,
that. You kind of like
you find
spiky
it
sperm. It's
humorous?
got a nice little ring to it.
I think I'm just tired.
Wow, there's no higher compliment, James. That's funny, right? No, I'm just tired.
Right now, everything's funny.
Wow, where
Everything. So if we said
we
something
needed
like
you 2 hours ago.
So we say, if you find yourself in a macabre marriage, eat an apple. You're gonna go, ha ha, that's funny.
You're the ceiling.
Apparently so.
Okay. On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
And if you find yourself in the middle of a macabre marriage, beware the spiky sperm. No! You laughed!
Yes.
It sounds like you're masturbating.
So,
That was the point.
the idea, I think.
I was scared. I was scared of the spiky sperm.
I thought it would be like, okay,
He laughed. You laughed.
That's good. I like that.
in a grotesque kind of way.
There you go.
All right. Can we finish it, or do you want another take of some sort?
If Sean,
Where I go, "Woohoo!"
no, if Sean and James are fine with it,
Woohoo!
if James and Sean are fine with it, then we go with it.
I'm fine with it.
Beware the spiky sperm.
Actually, I want to do it that way. Let's do it that way.
Are you serious?
Maybe. I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Let's do one for.
Okay, we'll do one for
James.
James.
All right.
Here we go. Yeah, do it like that.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
And if you find yourself in a macabre marriage, beware the spiky sperm.
God, what's that smell? Do you smell it? You know what that smells like?
What does it smell like?
It smells like G-Fest.
You know what?
is that what
Did
that
you
was?
guys?
Oh my God!
Did you
you're
guys
right.
go to G-Fest?
Yes,
We did.
and we still have the smell of it on us.
That's what I thought.
a little
Kaiju scent.
a little bit Gamera, a little bit Gargantua,
That's what I
a
thought.
little bit Godzilla.
Now you guys went in the summer,
We
Yeah, we did.
and you guys
Oh man, we just
spoke to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Spoke to a lot of people, emptied our bank accounts, brought back a
Wonderful.
lot of plastic stuff that will sit in a box until we have a place to put it.
Living the dream.
But the most important thing that we brought back
Yeah.
was audio.
You still have audio.
still
Oh my
have
God.
audio.
Historical recording.
Yes.
Well, I'd love to hear it.
I like to smell it.
Well, take this in your ears. G-Fest Epilogue. I'm Matt Weinhold,
I'm James Gonis.
and we are here with super fan, super friend, mascot, unofficial member of the show, Adam Holtz.
Gentlemen, thank you, and it was a pleasure seeing you again.
We hung the entire weekend. We drank, we laughed, we cried, we emptied our wallets. Was it worth it?
Yeah,
All right, great. Well, that's it.
we lost medication.
I'm all right. I'm fine. I'll make it through. Since you've been here, what was one of the high points of the con, aside from us?
Yes, other than meeting Monster Party. Probably the adult costume contest.
I agree with you completely.
Just seeing all those meticulously done outfits by people who I guess are technically amateurs, but that doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you look at some of the horror movies that we grew up with, those guys should immediately have jumped to the front of the line when it came to professionalism. Because some of those costumes, you could put them in a movie like right now. They're so good.
Yes, I agree completely.
Now, Adam, you did cosplay at Monsterpalooza, and when we saw you there, would you consider doing cosplay here next time?
Maybe. I do have like a Godzilla thing in mind, like a Godzilla hybrid thing, like the way I did that Creature from the Black Lagoon hybrid thing. But yeah.
At Monsterpalooza.
Yes, at Monsterpalooza. I would probably do it at Monsterpalooza first before here. Or here. I don't know.
Workshop it is what you're saying?
I'm workshopping it. It's under consideration. It's under construction. It's under investigation.
You want to see how it plays in Pasadena?
Yep. Make sure that I hit it big in Hollywood and then bring the show on the road. Like they do. Well, actually, the Broadway analogy doesn't work because that's New York, but So I'm going to debut it at the New York Comic Con, is what I'm saying.
Okay, wow. You have heterosized balls. So, can you give us a hint of what this idea is?
I could.
But you won't. Thank you. All right, well, that's it.
Well, I thought it'd be like a really big surprise, honestly.
Okay.
I can understand that. I can relate to the surprise element. That's fun. Now, apart from, we know that you love Shin Godzilla.
My favorite. Oh, love that.
Other than that one, what's your very favorite kaiju movie of all time?
My very favorite kaiju movie of all time is the one probably I saw most as a kid and I grew up with, and I still enjoy it very much to this day, is Terror of Mechagodzilla.
That's an interesting choice for me because that doesn't seem like one of the ones that most people bring up when they talk about their favorite Godzilla movies. What about that film attracts you to it so much?
I think it's just, the Godzilla himself in it, even though Godzilla's not in it a ton, that movie, actually. There's more Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus than Godzilla, I think. But, he's just, they redesigned the suit a little so his eyes are fur. He looks kind of mean and grumpy, but he's still, not, it's still a nice-looking Godzilla. And I like Titanosaurus. I like that Godzilla fights two monsters and beats two monsters at the same time. I liked, I can't remember but the actor who plays Serizawa in the original, his, mad scientist character that he hands up, I thought Katsura was really cute.
When it comes to Titanosaurus, though, I never really got into that monster because it always seemed like it was kind of like a less aggressive giraffe.
He does have a very long and elegant neck. But I think it was kind of a neat throwback because a lot of the monsters up to that point in the 70s, you've got, Hedorah, the smog monster. You've got Gigan, claw hands, Megalon, drill hands. It's just, it harkens back to a time of, say, your Varans, your Rodans, kind of just a basic dinosaur-like design.
A kaiju that can see what's on the top shelf.
And has, that fantail. What a great power.
Yeah. No, you're really selling this movie.
You can make it a bit more windy. Oh, yeah, Mechagodzilla was like the, the destruction scenes of Tokyo, when he's, the missile hands and, whole blocks are flying away, which I don't know if it really would do that if you had a robot with missile hands, but I think it looks cool.
No, that is cool. You're right. And when it comes to moments with Monster Party, moments with us, what were some of your favorite moments there?
I think when I caught Matt coming out of the shower.
Always hot.
Some of James' very, very good comedy bits, wonderful jokes.
Oh, thank you.
And, just the snuggling between all of us.
Yeah, we were almost a kaiju when we get in that bed. It's sort of like three Mothra larvas fighting for control.
We almost formed King Ghidorah. The three heads. We're with three robot lions coming together to make a Voltron.
Sure.
Well, thank you, Adam. Thank you for helping make it more fun this weekend. We only met you for the first time back in April at Monsterpalooza. I mean, we knew of you because you were, from social media. We knew that you were listening from New Hampshire. But we only met you for the first time a few months ago. But you're so fun to hang with, and you're like one of us.
I agree.
I take that as the highest compliment. I just really appreciate you guys letting me hang out with you this weekend. This is... The last time I'd been to G-Fest was 2005, ages ago. So I was thin, I was fit, I was handsome, confident, and now time goes by.
And you're like us.
See, a little more each day. But I just really, I came out here by myself, and I really, really appreciate you guys letting me hang out with you and have people to chat with.
You're always welcome. Now get out. Bye, G-Fest.
Bye, G-Fest.
Bye, G-Festival.
Sayonara.